All right. It's Thursday, October 20 what? October 20 what? Now I'm losing track of the days. I've been in here so long. Let's see here. 22, October 22, 2020. 10/22/2020. Welcome to the show. I'm Brandon, the host of the Ranty with Brandon show, as it's currently titled. Thanks for coming. Looks like we've got a full house in chat already. That's awesome. Last night was an excellent show. If you haven't seen it, we had at one point, I think 25 people in the Discord talking live. So if you're interested in joining the show, pop on in. 25 people. I can't remember when there was that many in there. And that is an awesome turnout. I see we've already got a few in there right now. So we'll go there in a minute. Got some stuff to show you. I want to share one of my favorite websites with you that I think you'll be excited about if you haven't seen it. I'm sure many of you have. And it's got a lot of good information. So I'll show that to you in a little while. If you do not, or if you have somehow escaped subscribing to my YouTube channel, I just spammed the link in the chat. And I'd appreciate it if you just take a minute, go over there, subscribe, come back. I do post the after show usually over there, as long as it's not a total shit show, and there has been enough shit shows posted, so I'm trying to be a little discretionary. I don't know, maybe I should just post it. I don't know, but anyway, so I do post them over there. They run from like 45 minutes to 2 hours, and there's usually some pretty good discussions, sometimes a continuation of what happened to the show, sometimes just crazy off-the-wall discussions that just come out of nowhere. Used to be a lot more drama than it is. It's quiet around here the last couple of days. I'm enjoying it. But anyway, let's give some shout outs to chat. Hold on. I got to do my plugs first. Before I go to chat, if you want to support the show, there's several ways to do it. You can support it via super chat in the show stream. You can become a channel member like Hell and Degenerates. I love that name. You see, you'll get a green name if you become a channel member. There's a little link on the YouTube page. You can become a Patreon supporter, or you can support via PayPal. PayPal, Patreon, and the channel membership goes directly to Ranty. This is his channel, obviously, not mine, and he is recovering from a major surgery, and he'll be out for the rest of the year, but I'm sure he would much appreciate the support. He's done a lot of good work for the FE community, that's for sure. All right, that's enough of that. Business is out of the way. Let's see who we got in the chat. I'm going to try to start at the top so I don't miss anybody. Ian Adams, what's up? Ian Adams was first tonight, so he gets the trophy. The Plain Truth. He liked the thumbnail. Yeah, thanks, man. Brandon C. Bill G. He said astronauts are real heroes, so you might, if anybody takes affront to that, speak to Bill G. Sebastian Wheatabix. I see Sebastian's been pretty active in the chat already. Let's see here. Who else? Colin Dresser. What's up, Colin? All right. Scrolling down. Enigma. Hey, Brandon. Love the show. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. SC Montreal. The voice of reason. Okay. Saki McSockface. I like that. Saki McSockface. Page 42. And I already shouted out Hell and Degenerates, but I give 2 shout outs. Rachy. What's up, Rachy? Bilu Miller. And I'm always amazed by the names that people come up with. It's really cool. Oh, we've got Real Ranty in the chat. Boy, was he throwing some punches in the chat last night. On a show that shall not be named, we were the topic of discussion for quite a while today. It wasn't that exciting, so don't worry if you don't know what I'm talking about. Matrix Media, what's up, man? All right, let's go to the Discord and check out who's in there. Looks like they're already deep in conversation, so
was it the second
hopefully we don't interrupt them.
When that clown turned up and then took the piss out of everyone with his video, that comedian guy or YouTube or whatever his name was, and everyone ragged on Robbie for trusting him and inviting him, and then I didn't really hear much about Robbie after that.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
How are you?
Hello.
Good. We got Travis aka the Plain Truth, Dr. Professor Ether Band Boy. What's up?
Hello. What ho?
There we go. F Evangelist, how you doing tonight?
Hello.
Paige. Hey, Paige.
Hey, Paige.
Hello, possums.
Paige.
Welcome to the show,
Hello.
Paige. Hi, Paige.
Hi, everyone.
Everybody loves Paige.
And the real Bob Dole. How you doing?
Oh, sweet.
Hello.
So what's going on, guys? What's on your minds?
What's on my mind? We should come up with a list of things that we want Gadget to say for us with his really funny accent. Like he'll say Mr. Bufffingers, and I think we should get him to say mashed potatoes and other fun, silly things.
Oh, that could go on all night for sure.
It could be. Maybe for the after show, Bob.
Yeah, there we go. That'll be a patron only
I was
event.
in Jose's for about 20 minutes, and I've got to give the guy some credit. He was dishing it up to the Globers. We were talking about seismic testing, and George. When I came in, George was giving some waffle about how you go down a mine shaft and you weigh less because there's less mass between your feet and the center of the earth and all this crap. And when I tuned in, I thought, oh, here we go. But then Jose started to dish it up to him, saying, this is garbage. And then I jumped in, and then Jose kept going, kept questioning their narrative and how they claim things they can't prove. And then Jose took him down a road of, it's all about scale, is it? So then he went from a glass of water to a bucket of water, to a lake of water, to the ocean. And in the end, he said to George, he said, well, welcome to Flat Earth, George. It was quite surreal to have Jose kind of arguing for our side.
What the heck? He must have thought the conversation was a little boring or something.
Yeah, and like he was incredibly friendly and cordial to me, and I mean, he didn't say he was a flat earther, obviously, but he just said he was just calling out their crap, essentially calling out their bullshit, saying, Don't tell me you know what you don't know, and you got to be honest enough to say I don't know. Don't just make stuff up, and yeah, it was good.
Well, that's cool. All right, I have no idea who or what show you're talking about, but that sounds interesting.
Oh, his Boom show that only finished. I don't know if it might still be going. This is about half an hour ago. It was live.
Okay. No, I was
You're
just kidding.
talking about JG, Jose Gonzalez.
Jose JG, yeah.
Guys, come on. Jeez, I was trying not to say his name.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Brandon, you had me as well. I'm thinking,
that guy that we don't talk about, yeah.
I'm thinking, is there another Jose that I don't know about?
Oh, man. That didn't go well.
That's what I was thinking too. No, it didn't, did it?
I'll have
Sorry,
to send
I'm still half
like
asleep.
electronic wink or something next time. All right. I see a couple more people that join. Let me say hello real quick. We got Jimbo and Jeremy. What's up, guys?
What up?
Did you guys see we had 25 people in here last night during the show?
It was busy, yeah.
It was busy. You know what? Actually, I'm surprised by how little people were talking over each other. It was not too bad. But it was a pretty good show, pretty interesting stuff. I want to show you guys something, and maybe you've already seen it before, but it is a website that I like that just came back online. I think you guys will enjoy it too, and it might give us some ideas for stuff to talk to. I'll share my screen here with you guys. Let's see here. It's not exactly flat earth related, but it is flat earth related. If you know what I mean, and you'll get it. Okay, you guys should see it now. So this website is called stolenhistory.net. It used to be known as stolenhistory.org, but it suddenly went offline when its main creator and the driving force behind it, a guy named Corbin Dallas, just up and disappeared one day and took the website offline. It's essentially not an alternative history. I don't know if that's the right word, but it talks about everything from the missing 1,000 years that Fomenko talks about, to sometimes they even talk about flat earth, to Antiquitech. It's like Martin Leakey's channel. So he goes through, these guys go through all that stuff, And what they do is somebody will write a paper about whatever. Like you can see the ones that are flashing on screen. Hindenburg, was Zeppelin technology a threat to the 20th century? Talking about how possibly Zeppelin travel was more widespread than we've been told, and that they kind of caused the famous Zeppelin disaster where the guy was screaming, "Oh, the humanity," on purpose to stop using that travel publicly. And if I just scroll down this stuff, you'll see they talk an abandoned city found in Brazil. Roman hypocausts are a myth. This is all about Rome. The stories that we've been told about Rome, like how they heated their houses, is a sham. There was probably some other technology. They talk about the resets, everything, Tartaria. I mean, you name it, and they question everything in history that's possible. Old maps. You guys will
That
love
looks
it if you've
very
never seen it.
interesting. Yeah,
I
looks
would
great.
say, I would say
Well, there's-
history plays a big part in flat Earth.
There are books out there that predate the 15th century and a little earlier that describe the underworkings of the aquifers, that maps show that there was a Panama Canal before we claim to have made it. All this stuff, there's a declassified document about, these storms that washed over North America and other places. We don't see these books all the time, but they're out there, and the information's there. It's just sort of not right out there in front of us, and intentionally not right out there in front of us. They want to weave a different picture of history for us to follow.
Yeah, for
Well, they
sure.
tell us
Paradigm.
They tell us that we are the pinnacle now and we were cavemen before. And I think it's exactly the opposite of that. We were much more advanced before and we've become knuckle-dragging cavemen now.
Well, I
And
think
look
we
at
had
the
the problem
arguments on the
too.
baller
We
side.
we became food for giants and titans, so it's sort of hard to develop culture and community and other stuff when you're being eaten in droves and being sold out
Yeah,
by,
good point.
different people to feed these colossus. So,
What is that you're talking about? Food for colossus and giants. I'm not familiar with this.
well, there was a time, and it's recorded historically in the Book of the Giants and other stuff, and basically there was man and giants walking around this plane at the same time. Things wound up going pretty miserably for one reason or another, and the giants mostly were cannibalizing and destroying this world. So the word got up to heaven, and God and the angels decided, well, they broke a covenant or a pact or a deal, and it was off. And God set out to destroy every one of the Nephilim and these giants and these races of giants, because they were cannibals, because they were eating people, because they were destroying the very earth that they lived off of. These things were monstrous in size.
Interesting.
And for anybody who doesn't believe that they actually lived on Earth, Mud Fossil University has samples of lungs and toes, and he's even got like a palm that's massive, absolutely massive, feet that are 35 feet long and stuff like this, all DNA certified, so they really
There
were
are
here.
vaginas petrified
Yeah,
out there.
that
You could do
massive vagina.
jumping jacks in the orifice, and giant penises that
Huh?
are like 18 feet tall penises and bigger.
Yep.
And
This is
they're penises.
taking a
I don't know
strange
what
turn,
to say.
but that's interesting. I'll have to check that out. Here's one that talks about the 1,000-year difference. Are you guys familiar with the Fomenko's work, where he talks about, they say there's a dark ages that was 1,000 years long, and there's not much history from that period and writing, and the world was kind of, dark, for lack of a better term. Well,
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Jeranism had a guy on his show that went over that pretty good. That was a good episode.
oh yeah, I remember that one. That was good. So here's one of these articles from
Some guy named Chris.
What's that? You were cutting out. Sorry, I thought you were done talking.
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Here's one where this guy writes about, he's looking at old documents and kind of trying to substantiate with the evidence that is available to us that there really is a missing 100 or 1,000 years, and that they took advantage of the use of the I in front of different dates, like I-530, and changed that to 1530 to make us think that it's a lot later than it actually is. To essentially fake our entire history. So, not only are they faking where we live, but they also are faking all of the stories of our past. So in our brains, we are essentially what and where they want us to be, whatever they made up for us.
Yeah, they have a strict paradigm that they need to stick to.
Speculation too that the I in the years, in the calendar years that's inserted, is for the Innocenti. It's something to do with the church, and I don't know what that is. But popes were named Innocenti for a long time, and I still think that any elected pope is an Innocenti, whatever that means.
Yeah, I mean,
and the popes that were Pope Innocent are some of the most horrendous violators of humans and human rights in all of the papal history.
It makes me suspicious that there was something just awful and horrendous that happened, just like a worldwide, not a cataclysm, but like a man-made, just like liquidation of human beings and total subjugation at some point.
In 1555, which pope was it? He introduced his volume, the Malficerum Denominum, which was basically how to identify witches, warlocks, people having pacts with the devil, transmuters, any kind of thing that they could declare sorcery, witchcraft, etc. And that began in 1550, the witchcraft delusion that lasted up to about 1602 and ended around Salem, Massachusetts, when the state issued apologies and letters to the families of people they basically murdered and tortured, accused of witchcraft and stuff.
Yeah.
So that year 15, I-555 about, under one of the Pope Innocenti at the time too, wrote the Malficerum Denominum and published it, and it became law and enforced. And the Spanish were chasing out Jews. They weren't killing Jews because of one of the rabbis who basically sacrificed his life there and told his people not to retaliate for, his pending murder. So this guy was murdered, and his Jewish congregation didn't retaliate in any way, shape, or form. So basically, they just exiled them to walking incredible distances, no matter how old or weak they were or how young, and they sent them off into death marches instead of like torturing and executing them like they would other people. So those years, well, the church was very much in charge on all the continents, including North America, in I-555.
Well, yeah, they tell us all these stories about them being everywhere, spreading the church, right? That, if in all countries, South America, wherever, all over the place, there's these old buildings, like the first stone buildings are from some monks who built them in seemingly the middle of nowhere. You read about those all the time. So yeah, who knows what the hell they were doing back there. I wish we could get to the real truth of what our past is. And I assume somebody has it locked up somewhere.
Yeah, Toronto. People think that Britain is the land of castles and knights and stuff. Toronto has one of the most beautiful castles on the highest point there that's very, very old. We have other castles throughout Canada, but we don't sell them as castles. More likely and more often they're sold as forts for tourists and stuff.
Okay.
But we have castles here. The one in Toronto is definitely a castle. And before all the high rises and stuff downtown, it had a clear view all the way to the water and stuff. The best view you're going to have is on the highest peak, around where you are. And you can basically control everything if you can see every boat that moves and every cart and every horse that's moving down the streets. You have a good idea of what's going on and who's who.
Hey, Bob, do you
look at the layout of American towns, the little towns, they'll have a main intersection, and almost a star shape, all the rural towns. That way, at the city hall, they can basically watch the traffic that, comes through the town.
Sure.
It's designed for control.
Do any of you guys familiar with this website, Bob? Have you ever gotten into like the alternate history, mud flood, Antiquitech stuff at all?
Not.
Really?
I haven't looked at that stuff. No.
There's a lot of interesting stuff there. There's a lot of speculation, of course. So this isn't, so much about science. Some of it is, depending on whose work you're looking at, but some of it is just trying to look at the hints, the fragments that we've been given, the evidence, and go, what the hell was this all about back then?
Well, when you apply common sense to what you see, you can see that the buildings were built and then the mud came afterwards.
I did get a little bit of wind or hint of something in the last several months, of what's the really popular museum, or the really big one, the
Guggenheim?
Smithsonian?
Smithsonian, I think that's what it was called, had possibly actually suppressed papers and or information, papers basically that demanded or instructed workers and stuff to destroy what were possibly giant bones, giant remains, and they didn't fit with the story of evolution, and so they were ordered to destroy these things. And apparently, just from what I had read and stuff, Congress had basically ordered these papers showing that this instruction was given to be released sometime this year. Now, I don't know if that's happened or if it's going to happen or not, but I have read a little bit about these bones that they supposedly had that were, clearly giant, versions of human things, and they were instructed to be destroyed because, the Smithsonian didn't want people to see them, basically.
If it doesn't fit with your paradigm, they're going to try to get rid of it because they need it to match. I'm guessing the museums and the Vatican, I've heard the Vatican has a massive library. I'm guessing they have a lot of shit in there that we'd love to know about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know. I'd love to get into the archives. Evidently you can write them like a letter, but you can get information from them, but you have to get permission from some. There's like this big long process. I watched a video about it, but I can't remember the details. And you have to know what book you want to look into, and you have to have like permission from somebody. It's not like they'll just let you in to look around and browse.
Do they have a list of books?
Like
even if
Antarctica, huh?
Vatican archives belong to whatever pope is ruling. They're his books until another one replaces them. So without his permission and blessing, the archives are off limits.
I don't know.
Even if you get in there, you think they're going to show you the book where they instructed people to destroy the giant bones, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do they have a catalog of their books that you can a title list for the books?
Excuse me, sir, Father, I'd like to see the books where they tell us about how they murdered everyone and hid the shape of the earth, please.
And the books that they have about the living robots that service, the heavens, if you will, and the earth. They're living angels, living robot beings. Some of them have, flying vessels, the manas. I don't know what you want to call them, but they're there and they're real. We see them today. A lot of people, when they claim they're seeing UFOs, some of them really are. But those UFOs might just be some of, God's robot angels doing their job.
Robot angels?
I don't know. Robot angels.
All right.
You've been watching Ancient Aliens too much.
And you always surprise me, Jimbo.
Not at all. The literature is there. It's well documented, well reported on, and it's written. There were living beings, living robots with animated spirits, if you will, that serviced this world for God and did jobs here. We all.
Did you say Vimanas? They were those little capsule things they sat in, weren't they?
Well, they're like supposed to be the airships of the Hindi people and stuff, and Vishnu and all those guys, the horny blue guy.
I'm sorry, nothing about nothing in the description of a Vimana makes you think that it could be even closely capable of flying.
Are you kidding? The whole book of Vimana is about flying machines. They're flying Vimanas. Where are you coming from? Ask
I've
any
heard
Hindu
I've
about
heard
the
Chris.
flying ship. Oh, the Vimana. Yeah, well, yeah, they're flying ships. I don't know what else to say.
What is
I don't
that?
know. I've heard Chris White debunk it because they described them as having like gardens and shit in them, and just all kinds of shit that nothing aerodynamic about them or anything.
Well, if you take a look at some of the non-fixed wing aircraft that are out there that people design and fly, RC and others, even full-size aircraft,
Well,
they
look
don't
at
have like
these.
the wings sticking out. Some of them have circular wings that are like round. Some of them are made like frisbees, for heaven's sake, and they fly perfectly. In fact,
Yeah,
better than
these
a
are not meant to
fixed-wing
be able to
aircraft.
fly, but they
So I
can.
don't know what you're talking about. You know nothing about aerodynamics. You think everything has to look like a bird with its wings spread out. You have no clue. So debunk that.
I'm just saying, from what I've heard about the description of Vimanas, they don't sound too aerodynamic or like they were even meant to fly.
Like I say, look at these non-standard, non-fixed wing aircraft that people design and fly, and they do fly beautifully and sometimes more stable and better with shorter takeoffs and landings than a fixed wing aircraft. There is a million times better design than a fixed wing aircraft. So if you don't think this can fly, have you ever heard of a frisbee? Jeez.
I gotta clip that
And
out.
don't forget, there are a lot of videos debunking flat Earth. So just because there's a debunking video doesn't mean they're correct.
Well,
You know.
this is also because they want you to believe that air is bouncing atoms. Okay, this is a huge thing, that if air isn't bouncing atoms and it's touching the airplane at all times, that means you can pull yourself along. Like there can be a completely different mechanism. Like if you look at planes now, the turbines, they used to be all towards the back, right? And they're telling you, oh, we have to pull the air over the wings, right? Like it's not like the air going into the turbine is pulling the plane. The plane is creating lift from this air bouncing that goes under. But now look at the planes. The turbines are in front of the wings, right? They're pulling air before it even gets to the wings. So the wings I don't even think have much to do. Like what's his name was saying. The wings are
sailboat.
they're there for effect.
Airplane,
Yeah, they're there for
back to the
effect,
thing.
man.
People think that air lifts up the plane. People think that air blowing on the sail moves the boat through the water. This is false. It's the negative pressure on the opposite side of the sail that pulls the boat through the water. Just as the negative force above the wing, because there's less air flowing above than below, causes a negative pressure and raises or lifts on the wings and plane. So
It's
Seems like a lot of
twisting a
things
rope.
are
set up because
pressure
the wind passes
mediation.
under. Yeah, same as
Picture
the
if you
sail.
twisted a rope, it would pull you towards it, right? Because it would start, you know what I mean? It would do that thing. So that I think that's kind of like, again, that's the whole idea there. When you lie about everything, then people, they'll never
Yeah.
figure anything out.
That's
That's
why
the biggest
when
thing.
you're heading into the wind on a sailboat, you have to tack right and left
You know,
regularly.
I'll tell you one of
Switch the sail from side to side, and you sort of change the nose of the boat, but you're heading directly into the wind. Well, that's impossible. Wind is supposed to be blowing you back. So how can you be moving forward, going straight into the wind? You have to be sucked there. You can't be pushed there.
that's a good point, but I will tell you the no fuel in jet planes. I looked into that stuff for a long time. There is a lot of interesting shit out there about no fuel being used by modern jet planes, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
There is no room in the wings.
Bro, it's prove. You can almost prove it. Watch those.
Nothing.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Watch those people who stand behind the plane. If it was exhaust, they would get burned. It's not. It's just compressed air being sprayed out. That's why they just hold on to the fence and flap like handkerchiefs.
Yeah, the people on the beaches and they're getting blown around. They say it's just hot air.
I think they're using ionizing technology and electricity, whatever, in different frequencies to modify air and water that passes through the intake into like nitrous oxide and explosive hydrogen, if you will, whatever. it's converting actually the air and what's in the air into the explosive that propels. The race cars too, the Formula Ones, they say they hold 50 gallons. You ever see a 50-gallon tank?
It's a
It's three
barrel.
times
It's a
as
it's a
wide,
rain
full
barrel.
barrel. And they say that it'll fit into like 12 liters of space behind the pilot, behind the it's ridiculous. You
Bro,
can't fit
because
Have you
50
seen
gallons in one of those
Have you seen the way spiders can do ballooning like in a vacuum? There's no air for them
magnetic.
to grab their thread, but they're still able to, zoom off into the wind and get carried away, even though there's no atmosphere, no wind. So there's got to be something else,
bro,
being able to be
I know
manipulated.
everybody's gonna start screaming, but it's motion, bro. If you start transferring them, if they release a thread, right, and that thread starts moving enough, the spider will move, right? It has nothing to do with anything else except the motion being transferred from one object to another. So it doesn't.
No,
You don't need
they
this
found
air to
that
lift it.
spiders and baby spiders can let up a little trail of what do we call it, silk, and they use a magnetic lift and stuff and waves to fly around and travel to new places. They fly magnetically.
Ah,
Yeah, and bees are the same. Bees shouldn't be able to sustain flight. Like I think it was a bumblebee, the size of its body compared to its wings are all wrong for it to be able to have any kind of flight at all. So it's like it's levitating, not flying, what we think of flying as.
And how about the dragonfly with two sets of wings? It's more like a helicopter.
Add a
Why do
repelling.
Yeah, good point.
They're repelling, and instead of pushing lift, they repel every time. So it doesn't need this like thing of air. It's just the motion of the wings, right? Just the motion of the wings itself, not the medium that it's in. You know what I mean?
just what we
Well,
need,
if you
flying spiders.
magnify the bees' wings and other flying carapace and stuff,
That's illegal.
designed with little kind of magnetic domains. They're all little, very structured little cavities, all one by one, almost pimpled and dimpled like a golf ball. They're designed to be and create a certain amount of magnetic lift for these creatures.
So I'm
They're
looking at
diametrically opposed to the magnetism of the ground, I would imagine, which helps make them lighter to begin with.
Oh, it is pretty awesome. There's some amazing stuff out there. Obviously, they have some more advanced technology, and I use they loosely, but I would say for sure, the militaries of the world, especially the United States and its allies, some advanced flying crafts. That's pretty obvious. I mean, the TR-3B has been spotted so many times. The Black Triangle craft, and they've damn near admitted that. But I bet they have stuff that it would blow our minds. I mean, think about it.
Well,
they haven't released anything since, anything that I would say is a huge advancement in technology since the stealth bomber, and that was in 1980s.
Well, the last big thing I heard of was
exactly.
called the Aurora Aircraft, and it's supposed to hit 7,000 miles an hour, and there are a few recordings of it on a transatlantic flight from above, showing its trail, basically.
7,000 miles an hour. Holy crap. What's that? Almost Mach 10? That's like Mach 9.
The Aurora is supposed to be a secret aircraft, and there are some vids on YouTube of at least its trail. You can't see this plane flying. If you can't see that one at 7,000, how could you see the ISS at 17,005?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's only half the speed of the ISS.
With the military, the thing you can be sure about is whatever they tell you they've got is already way obsolete.
Dated.
For sure. And that's one of my arguments for when the ball or anybody asks, why would they lie about the shape of the Earth, is because technological advancements, including scientific knowledge about just the world in general, but especially the upper atmosphere and the shape and size of the terrain that we're on, is militarily advantageous, because you have to know the map of the place that you're fighting in order to fight. And you have to know how the sky works and how lift works and how flight works in order to build aircrafts. These are guarded, top secrets, I would guess.
It goes to everything though, Brandon. Like even with motor vehicles, you go to Harrah's Motor Museum in Reno, Nevada. They've got an electric car there from the 1920s or 30s that could go 65 miles an hour and had a range of about 80 miles. That's nearly 100 years ago. The Germans had a car that they ran on the Autobahn that did over 300 kilometers an hour in the 1930s. And yet Tesla or whoever comes out with some marvelous new achievement, but it's not new at all. They were doing it 60, 70, 80 years ago with their so-called limited technology. We live in a, I don't know, it's just false. What we live in and what we think we're getting is just false.
Yeah.
We live in a ruse.
In a ruse. It's just a ruse.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
It
Like
is.
whatever they're giving us is just like tiny drops of the real resource that's available. Tiny drops that makes us think, oh, thank you. But
Yeah, like
there's so
one or
much
two
more out there
pieces
that they
out of
don't
a
give us.
1,000-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the
Yeah.
business model of Intel? Is they already have like their CPUs like planned out and designed like for years and years and years and years ahead of time, and they're releasing minor upgrades every so often
Correct.
because basically they want to keep selling them. Pretty sure. Like
I knew a guy that worked for Chrysler. He was one of the design team in Chrysler here in Australia he was in the 1970s. And he was saying that the cars that were released in 1979 were actually designed in 1970 or the late 60s. But it took 10 years before, like they're so far ahead, or in effect, we are so far behind of where they are actually at.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure. They say that the stealth fighter and the stealth bomber was mostly developed in like the 60s and 70s, right? Oh, who knows how far advanced
And we only
they are.
heard about it in the 90s, like in the first Gulf War. That's when we first sort of heard about it en masse.
Yeah. Because you don't want to give up your secrets before the war. It's just this constant battle back and forth to who can get the best technology. And I personally think they've been planning for total war since World War II, probably really since World War I, but let's just say since the end of World War II, they have been preparing for the next total war. And if you look,
trilogies. They love the trilogies, man. You can't have 3 Star Wars movies and only 2 wars.
Yeah, and even when they release new ones, mate, it's a new trilogy. It's not a new one.
Yeah, the Trinity, bro. It's all about the Trinity. They love throwing these things in people's faces. Yeah, there'll definitely be a third World War. Come on, they've been talking about World War III for like before World War II.
So there is a question from Aaron Armstrong. I'm going to read you guys. Is there no conspiracy too crazy for this group?
Well, see, then all they have to do is make the truth, quote unquote, too crazy, and there it is. Right? This is almost what flat Earth is. You laugh at it when you hear it. Oh, atoms are fake. Ha 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 ha. That's too crazy.
But we're not even talking about conspiracies though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this stuff about the giants and it's factually been proven now. Like you can see the DNA reports. You can look at it yourself. You know, so half of these things aren't even conspiracies.
Yeah, but they do that. That's like put something in a movie. Let's say, I don't know, there really was a cyborg, like the T-2000 or whatever. And they put it in a movie, and then some whistleblower comes out and says, hey, you know what? They got this liquid metal robot that they sent in the past. And it was true. Everybody go, oh yeah, like that movie? Oh, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what we're talking about the military. You know, suddenly we've got Marvel comes out with Tony Stark, and Tony Stark has all these amazing new weapons that he's been developing, and they do all sorts of things that we think is just fantastical, and then they come out and everyone says, oh yeah, that's like Iron Man.
Yeah, right. Well,
Satellite.
yeah, satellites like Isaac Asimov came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're true. They're real. I know something.
Okay, if you say so. I never seen anything floating without being attached to something or being held up or on a wire. But maybe.
Bro, orbits is a fancy word for falling in a circle.
Yeah, falling, or is it being pushed up now? I can't keep track of what's going on.
It's falling. It's going to the ground. It's falling, but it's missing the ground. It misses the ground. It's there, but it misses it.
But I thought gravity was the ground pushing up on us now, or time space crumpling. I really don't know anymore.
None of you understand.
Anyway, let me say hello to the other people who have joined the panel. Carlos, what's up, man?
Good evening.
Good evening. All right, very formal. And Rakia, what's up, man? Oh, he's on mute. He'll say hello when he's ready.
Hey, hello.
There he is. So anything got an interesting topic they want to bring up? A new observation, a new video you saw that is interesting? Anything? But you have a good argument? What's on your mind? Nothing?
Okay. I mean, nobody else has got anything. There's something I've been. What? I don't have to go.
Yeah,
Go,
I think
Bob,
Jake is
go.
never here.
Carlos, you're a little low. It's a little hard to hear you. Go ahead, Bob.
There's something I've been thinking about, and I was thinking about doing like a presentation. I don't know if I'm gonna get around to that or not. So I'm not super prepared or anything, but there's been claims that the Bible, which I mean, whether you believe in religion or God or not, like the Bible has history written down in it. So you can claim that that's not real history or whatever, but there are other things that also confirm that there is history in the Bible that is legitimate. It did happen. But there was a claim that the Bible was written in a fashion that it was like all of it was figurative. But now I've been looking into it, and the old Chinese language is considered to be the oldest written language that we know of, and it's several thousand years old. And if you look at the way that it was constructed, they don't have letters like we have letters in our language. They have like little pictures basically for so like the picture for mouth is like a box. It's just a little box, okay? But then you would put that together with something else to make another idea or word or concept. So you put mouth together with something else and it means, a new thing, right? So uh, let me just go ahead and pull something up here real quick. I can even share my screen if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Take a look at this. This is really interesting. I think it's very. Let me see if I. All right, and screen. Share my screen. And let's share this one. Let me know when you guys can see it.
Let me get it up for everyone real quick here, Bob. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so looking at the Chinese language and the way it was written, basically the statement was made that the Bible was written figuratively. The stories were figurative, the people weren't real, and all of it was written for one group of people, Israel, and doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. Okay. But now you look at this Chinese language and the way it was constructed, and the Chinese don't have basically anything to do with Israel. Okay. Little to no interaction from what I understand with them. And the way this language was constructed was using actually stories from the scriptures. But see, the scriptures were written at a time either right around this language was being created or possibly even after this language was already created. So it doesn't make sense that the Chinese would have these stories if they weren't passed down from people who had actually experienced the stories. So if you can see my screen, the word for boat is vessel, 8, and people put together. Okay. Now, there's a story in the scriptures about a flood where 8 people got into a boat and survived the flood. Okay. Now, I think that this website, I don't think mentions it, but I think that's actually not just boat. I think that's actually their word for large boat, and that just boat by itself is a different set of symbols. I think this is actually supposed to say large boat. Okay. But it seems interesting that the ancient Chinese word for boat is vessel, 8, and people. Now, why would it be that? Why would they put together vessel, 8, and people for large boat? Okay. Now, maybe that's a coincidence, right? I mean, one word, it sounds similar. Sure, you can make anything out of that if you really want to. But now let's move on to another one. Okay. To covet or to desire here is 2 trees, women put together is to covet, desire. Now, there's a story in Genesis very early on about a god who told his creation that there's a couple of trees out there, and one of them was going to provide them with the knowledge of good and evil, and they were not to eat of that one. Okay. And along came the serpent who basically convinced the woman, who looked at the tree and saw that the fruit was good. Like, it even describes that she wanted that fruit, right? Desired that fruit. So why would the Chinese, way back then, before or even around the same time that the Bible was written, having no interaction with the people that it was supposedly for, and no reason to have this information whatsoever, because they wouldn't have had access to a Bible that wasn't written yet and wasn't handed out yet, they have for covet or desire 2 trees and woman.
Well, let me jump in just real quick and ask the question: why are we assuming that the Chinese derived this information from the Hebrews?
I'm not. I don't
Okay.
think that they did. I don't think they derived it from the Hebrews at all.
Well,
I don't think
but your question seemed to imply that the Chinese got this information from the Hebrews.
Absolutely not. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, I think the Chinese have this information from older Chinese people.
Right, but then but your question. So then, so help me understand what you were trying to imply then, because you said, how could these 2 cultures that have no contact have similar ideas? So then, what was your
Right.
implication? What were you trying to
What I'm saying
imply
is,
from that?
there was a point where all people were together in one place on the earth, and then God basically smote them with different languages, and they departed. Okay, that's my claim. That's what I'm saying. I think that's true. Okay.
Well, that's not
Now,
not your claim. That's the Bible's claim.
okay, the Bible's, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I wasn't. Yes, you can word it like that. I have no disagreement with that statement.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay.
Just for clarification.
I claim that the Bible is true. So, okay. So, what we
I
have
I
here.
claim the Bible is true too. I think the Bible is
Okay.
100% true. It's just
So
not literal.
if the Bible was written even at the time that this language was being created or after, there's no reason for them to have access to this story, because the Bible wasn't written for them to have access to it. So the source of this this creation of this language must have been something else. And what I'm saying is, it makes sense, if you don't take the Bible as figurative and you take it as literally, that the ones who were Chinese, that had the Chinese language, departed from the Tower of Babel, but kept these stories that they knew of from the beginning of time and passed them down and incorporated them into their language. So, like, here we have to create is speak, dust, life, and walk. The scriptures say that Adam was created from dust. Now, if the Bible is literal in its creation story, Adam and Eve would have told their children about how they came about. God would have told them, basically they would have been passing this information down.
That's an argument
And
from silence.
what's that?
That's an argument from silence.
I don't know what you mean by that.
You are projecting what you think ought to have happened as if it had happened, but we don't have any record of it. It's silent. The record.
No. Okay, so I'm not stating this as an absolute fact that is unquestionable. That's not. I'm explaining what this makes me think of.
He's speculating.
Okay.
But because we don't have, okay, so if I were to say I believe the Bible's I believe that the Bible teaches X, and you say, can you show me that in the Bible? And I say no, but I just think that it would support that idea. That's an argument from silence. It has
Yes.
absolutely
Okay.
hold on. It has absolutely no bearing, absolutely no weight in a discussion because there's nothing to substantiate the claim except
Right.
for
I'm not saying that the Bible teaches this at all. I'm not.
okay. It just
What year
well,
was this
so then
Chinese stuff written?
I'm saying that the Bible says a thing, and the Chinese language was made, and it seems to also say that same thing. That's what I'm saying. Now,
okay.
I mean, you can reject all of this information and say the Chinese language wasn't made like that, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's okay.
No,
From what
that's
I
not what I'm
understand,
saying. I'm not going to
oh,
say
okay,
that. No, I'm not. I'm
okay,
not going to say that. I'm going to try to just reiterate my point that I made with Flat Earth Data the other night, and that is the Bible might use a concept or an idea that exists in the culture for its own purpose, so that if it refers to a flood, it might refer to something that other cultures understood happened, but it uses that story for another purpose, which is what I was trying to get Flat Earth Data to understand. That the flood story in Genesis 6 through 9 might very well have an historic event that actually really happened, but the author is using that story to make a point in his story that's completely different. So that is the point that I would try to substantiate in terms of what I'm trying to put out as an allegorical basis for what the Bible is
okay.
doing.
It sounds like what you're saying is the writer wrote about something that may have actually happened, but he wasn't writing about the thing that happened when he wrote about the thing that happened.
No, he's okay. I'm trying to let you have your cake and eat it too, to some extent, right? So when I talk about the fact that the Bible is completely closed, that is, its story has no relevance for us today. There's nothing in our future tomorrow that has any dependence upon what the Bible teaches because the Bible story is over with. Okay. Now, one thing that Flat Earth Data talked about is a recapitulation, right? A recurring theme or a recurring idea, or we see these things all the time, and this is the worst generation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. If you want to say that the Bible has principles in it that we see repeated over and over again, I don't have a problem with that as long as you give me the reality that what it originally was about the first century. If you want to make echoes happen throughout history, knock yourself out. As long as you understand that the Bible in the New Testament is 100 verifiably accurate in terms of these things that this book talked about happened in the past. If you want to give
Yeah,
those things
I'm
that
not sure what Flat Earth Data's argument was exactly, but I'm not making his argument, and I'm not attempting to make his
okay,
argument.
but what my point is that the authors of the Bible are going to write their story, and if they incorporate an idea that is worldwide or culturally known at that time, everybody can say, "Oh yeah, I know that story." But then the author goes, "Yeah, but I'm giving it a little bit of a tweak. I'm giving it a little bit of a kick." And you've got to understand that that's the allegorical aspect of the Bible. The Bible is not literal. There are too many problems if you try to press a literal understanding of it. There just are. Listen, I grew up for 40 years in an evangelical, historic Christian denomination that was all literal. Okay. Anyway, my point is that the author uses a story for his purpose. He takes that idea and says, you know what? I can use that, and I'm going to use it.
Okay. And like, I'm not going
What I
to
think is
press
that
you on that.
yeah,
That's
Bob,
fine.
just
What,
keep going. This is
what
fantastically
I'm providing
coincidental what you're showing
information to
us.
others that they can take in, and they can decide for themselves which one they want to pursue further, or neither, or both, or whatever. All I'm doing is providing information that I have to other people. Okay. And what this says to me is that there was a thing that happened that more than just one group of people experienced, and it doesn't make sense to me personally that the Chinese would have this incorporated into their language if it wasn't something that was passed down to them from generations before them. Okay? That's basically what I'm putting forth here. Okay? And these things that you see with the Chinese language and how it's put together lines up with the literal story of Genesis. If you take it literally, it lines up basically perfectly with what that story
No, okay,
says
listen,
happened.
no. It doesn't line up literally. It lines up conceptually.
No,
Two
that, I
trees.
didn't say it lines up literally.
Yes,
I
you
said it
did.
lines up with it if you take the story literally.
Okay, that's
That's
the
what I
same
said.
thing. That don't
No,
talk
it's not
out
the
of both
same
sides
thing.
of your mouth.
It is
Don't
not the
talk
same
it.
thing.
Okay, well, I'm not going to let. If anybody else wants to correct me, then anyone else in here, you may feel free to correct me at this point. But what I hear Bob Dole saying is he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He just said that if you take this literally, you have a culture using the same concepts. They're not.
I agree with you, Travis, 100%. First of all, what years were these written? What year was the Bible written, and what year was this stuff written, the Chinese stuff?
So from what I've been looking at recently, it is it's a range of dates. They say that the language was made from, I think it was 1600 BC down to 1162 BC or something like that, somewhere in there, or it might have been over time through there, or well, okay, so it might be that's when the histories that they found, the oldest histories they found, are written.
So well
Was from
before.
16.
Sorry,
What's it?
continue. Sorry.
And the Bible was written, I think it was, or like the first parts of the Bible that were written at around, I think, 1200. Okay, so the histories seem to have been put down in the Chinese language approximately around 400 or so years before the Bible was even started to be written.
Okay, so any comparisons would have to be made in reverse than what you're saying, right? If
What
there's
I'm
any
saying
possible.
is that the Chinese couldn't, if they wrote these things before the Bible was written, they couldn't have gotten the stories from the Bible, so they must have gotten them from somewhere else if they're the same story. That's what I'm
Correct.
saying.
Yes. Okay, so we're in agreement there. Okay.
Okay. And what I'm saying in addition to that is it seems to me to be the same story if you look at the way the language is constructed. Okay? That's what I'm offering up right here is a concept or an idea that you can look into further on your own if you want, is how the language seems to be constructed.
I
Right.
agree
So
with
this
you. I
right
find it fascinating as long as you phrase it in such a manner, because what you were saying before, Travis, is correct. You seem to apply that somehow they were, the same. They had the
That's what he
same
just said. You
idea.
just said it again, Essie. You
Yeah, I
just
know.
said it
I know.
again. It's not the same story. They have the same characters, the same concepts, but they're not the same story. Okay, listen, hold on real quick, okay? Let's say, for instance,
That's the point of contention. We already recognize that there's a disagreement on that. All I'm saying is that I think it is the same story. You're saying, no, it's not. Like, that is the contention. I already recognize that's a disagreement we have. But we're not
Okay.
going to convince each other of the other one's side just by saying, nah, yes, it is, or no, it
Okay.
isn't. I
Okay.
understand we disagree. Can we move on? We disagree.
Okay, that's okay. Listen, I guess what I'm trying to pull out of you is, rather than saying that the stories are the same, is to say that you think that the
I thought I
stories.
said that repeatedly already. They seem the same to me. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think that there's a better way for me to put it and indicate that, like, I'm not saying this is absolute 100% fact that no one can dispute or they're wrong and need to go jump in a lake. All I'm saying is this seems compelling to me, and it seems like the same story.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you have a Chinese character that is two trees and a woman, and that is the symbol for desire, how is that a story? So how are you equating that with the story of Genesis 2?
I thought
How
I
can you
had
not see
explained
it?
that already.
Okay, so again, a picture written in characters, right? So you have two
Right.
trees, you have this tree, and this woman. Whoop. That's a
Yep.
character. That's not a story.
Okay.
So my question to you is, how are you imposing Genesis 2 as a story, because it is a narrative? How are you imposing Genesis 2 back on a single character
Okay.
of a written language?
Okay, here's how. I think it is a story. That was easy.
Let me just 1 second interject here. What I find is interesting. The Bible says a thing. Now, whether you believe the thing is allegorical or literal or whatever, that's all fine. That's up to you. Then you have an ancient language that clearly seems, at face value, to perhaps reflect the thing that the Bible says. That's very, very interesting to me. Like SE said, that's fascinating.
I
Now,
agree. I
the word
agree.
for
Let's not give
the
him
word
too
for
much of
covet,
time.
yeah, the word for covet, the character for covet, Travis, it could be two farmers and a cow, and one is coveting the other one's cow, or something to that effect. But it's not. It happens to be the collection of characters that seem to possibly reflect what's said in the Bible. If you don't find that really interesting, I'm a bit puzzled with how you think.
Right. Okay, so I didn't say that it wasn't interesting. I'm trying to press the issue that we don't have a basis for saying that they are the same thing.
Bob's not saying that.
No, but I do have a basis for saying that they seem like the same thing to me. That I absolutely have a basis of that, and the basis for that is it's my opinion, and I can state it like that if I want to.
Yeah, but that's not a basis. That's just your opinion.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I just said. It's my opinion, and I can
No,
state it
that's
like that
not.
if I
Okay,
want
listen. That's not exactly what you just said. You said your basis for saying that is your opinion, but your opinion is
to.
not
It
the
is my
basis.
opinion. The basis for that is that it's my opinion.
Okay.
That is my basis for saying that it seems the same. Is that my opinion is that it seems the same.
The only thing that's the same about the Chinese characters and Genesis chapter 2 is that there are two trees and a woman. Where's the man? Why isn't there a man?
And I can move on to some more things, and that's fine. But I already agreed that we disagree on this. That's fine. You don't think it's the same. You don't think it's in any way referring to the same thing. That's fine.
I'm just trying to listen for something more substantial in terms of your explanation for
Well, I can save you some time and energy. You're not going to hear anything more substantial than I see this, and it seems the same to me. That's all I got.
But the only okay, listen. Okay, so again, the only thing that's the same are the trees and the woman. That's it.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we just take the handbrake off of Bob's presentation and let it continue? Just for a few minutes and see where it goes, Travis.
All right, carry on.
Like, it's not like it's just these 3 words and then like that's it, and it's. I mean, because that could be even 3 words could be coincidence. Okay, there's a lot of it that is constructed in this way. There's even more than I like. This website doesn't even list like I think possibly some of the more interesting ones that I've seen. Okay, this is just a website that has some really quick ones.
Let me just jump in real quick and say again. Listen very carefully. Again, simply because you have these two in this instance with 2 trees and a woman, okay?
Mhm.
Simply because you have that connection does not mean that Genesis 2 is literal. It means
Okay. Does anyone on the panel?
Hold on,
did anyone else get the impression that that's what I said? Was that because I have the tier, it means it is literal?
opinion? Okay, hold on, Bob. Bob, is it your opinion?
That's
Is
Rob,
it
not
your
Bob.
opinion that Genesis 2 is literal?
Separate and apart from what I'm displaying to you here, I do think that Genesis is literal,
Is it your
whether I
opinion?
have these Chinese words or not.
Okay, is
But
it
we
your
can have that opinion.
Okay, hold on. Is it your opinion then that the Chinese characters derive their source from the literal historical event of a woman and 2 trees?
That I have no way of determining whether or not they absolutely do or don't.
Okay. Okay. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the clarity. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm trying to find clarity, and I've heard it. Again, what I'll come down on right now for the moment is that both the Chinese characters and the Genesis 2 story have a source that they both borrow from. That does not mean that Genesis 2 is literal.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean
Can
that
I
it's
agree
not.
with both of you?
I don't know. Am I supposed to answer that? I don't know what you mean.
Well, you don't have to answer it. I think both of you got some good points, and I just wanted it to continue with Bob's presentation.
Yeah. Okay.
And I
I'll
love you,
just
Travis.
I'll continue on.
Finish the presentation,
this
then we can have
create
more
one-
discussion.
If you know the story from Genesis, basically God was speaking things into existence, and He took dust and made it into man, and of course man walked. Okay. And again, I'm not saying this is absolutely what they meant by this, and that it all lines up and it's all absolute. What I'm saying is that I relate this easily to what I've read from Genesis. Okay. And then we have complete or finish is 2 persons. Okay. First home is complete. So now we have the 2 people, Adam and Eve, were made, and after God was done with that, he finished. Okay, he was done creating after that, and they had their home in the garden. So 2 people in their home is complete. That's what he had. He had a perfect home. He had the 2 people. He was done creating, and so it was complete. It was finished. Another one with the 2 trees, forbidden or to warn, is putting 2 trees together with the word God. Now, of course, in Genesis, God warned them about the 2 trees. One was a tree of life, one was a tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the warning was given about the one that would give them the knowledge of good and evil. The word for garden, dust, breath, 2 people, and enclosure. Garden. Now, it should be pretty clear how that lines up with what is said in Genesis about where they were, okay, and what took place. The dust was taken, he breathed life, 2 people, and they were in this enclosure, this Garden of Eden, okay, and that is the word for garden. This is one of the more interesting ones, I think. Tempter, okay, secret man in the garden, alive, and that's devil. Devil plus trees, and the trees are the things that we talked about with coveting or
There is
warning.
no
cover
reason. Sorry, there's no reason to
equals
connect
tempter.
the devil. There's no reason to connect the devil in this. Okay, you are imposing an idea into Genesis 2 and 3. There is no mention of the devil in this story. Okay, so I'm sorry, but I just want.
Okay.
I just want the audience. Hold on.
Literally, the thing on my screen right now itself puts the devil in that scenario. I don't have to put it in there at all.
You can't do that because
it does it. The Chinese, take it up with the Chinese. They're the ones who did it. Yell at them about it. Okay.
Hey, Travis,
they say
let's let
devil
him finish it,
plus trees
and then
cover means tempter.
I'll give you plenty of time to respond to him, but people want to hear the end of his presentation. I know you.
No, there's more of these, and I don't. This is just a site that I found that has a few of them. This is the last one I think on this site or right here, and they put the idea of devil together with trees and cover. Okay, which cover I take to be like hiding or not necessarily having it out in the open, kind of like dishonesty or whatever. That's what I would take that to be the purpose of that cover being there. Devil, the two trees that we talked about, life and the knowledge of good and evil, and cover would be tempter. The story in Genesis is about the serpent or whatever who basically convinced Eve to go ahead and partake of the tree, even though she had been instructed not to. Again, there's a lot of these. These aren't the only ones, and you can look further. I'm probably going to look further. There's a book that I'm looking at, possibly reading, this Discovery of Genesis. They go into it, but I found it interesting. I think, like, to me, it seems like it lines up very well with what I read in Genesis. I already, aside from these symbols and without them at all, I already think that Genesis is a literal account, and this just seems to point to the fact that the Chinese may have passed down stories of what their parents told them and what their parents' parents told them about what had taken place with Adam and Eve and Noah and his ark and how humanity survived a flood and things like that. So
That can be, bro. Sorry. What you just said now cannot be. Because those events did not happen. Therefore, the Chinese could not have passed down
I'm
that.
aware that that is a contention that's out there. Like
Just
that
to be,
doesn't,
you know,
you
just to
saying it
be,
didn't happen doesn't convince me. Obviously, that's just restating the contention.
Well, I mean, that was pretty clear in what I said.
Right. I'm not saying you're unclear. I'm saying that that doesn't do anything to convince me. You restating the contention doesn't convince me. Just like I can't
Now,
convince
hold
an
on there,
atheist that
Bob.
God exists just by saying, but yes, he does exist. But yes, he does exist. Like that doesn't help. That's restating the contention. He already said he doesn't think he exists.
Bob, you just said that this story relates to the Jesus story and that their parents, the Chinese, have told
I
their
didn't say
kids
anything about Jesus.
that is not possible, what you just said.
I didn't
Because
say
that
anything about
story,
Jesus.
yes, you were. You were
No, I did
talking
not.
about the Bible story. Were you not?
But I didn't say anything. I did not mention the name Jesus in what I
Okay,
just said.
the Bible story. You said that the Chinese were taught father to son to son. Well, you're
I
absolutely
said that makes sense to me that
wrong
that's
in
what
that
happened.
statement, Bob, because
I'm
that
saying
story
that that makes sense to me.
did not exist.
Okay, I understand that that contention is out there. I disagree with that contention. I think that they absolutely did exist.
Contention. It's a statement of fact. It's not a
Okay,
contention, Bob.
that is a contention. Your
No, it is
statement
not,
of fact
Bob.
is
You
a
said
contention.
yourself that the
You know
story
what
was
else
400
is considered
years
a fact?
prior.
We went to the moon. That's considered a fact, but I disagree with that
Okay,
contention.
Bob. Okay, continue with your La La Land. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That was the last one that I have on here. And I said, like I said, I don't have a huge presentation prepared or anything. It was just that one website that I had already had pulled up and stuff.
Don't
And
get me
you guys
wrong. I
can look at
find
more
it.
if you want to.
Essie, I don't know your position on this one, man. This is all news to me. So can you just, were you so categorical that did not?
No. I
explain
find
that?
FB. I find his presentation very fascinating. I mean, wow. I mean, there's similarities there, but what he just made his last statement and what Travis is trying to tell him is, you cannot equate this story with what the Chinese did because it is prior. The Chinese wrote this prior to the story. Therefore, they could have not had the knowledge. It's very clear. I mean,
So
you cannot deny it.
Chinese wrote it. I think the Chinese wrote it prior to the Bible being
The Bible
written. Is
being
that what you were
written,
saying,
not
Bob?
before it happened.
Not prior to the event, because the Bible is a writing down of previous events as well.
Well, that we
What
can
he's
get
saying
that
is
into
that
another conversation there, but
The Bible
yeah.
wasn't written contemporaneously with the events that took place
with
in the
the
Bible. It's not like Moses was sitting there at creation writing down what God was doing.
You're assuming now, and I don't want to go into the assumptions. I'm going by established dates, what we said. Your last statement is wrong. End of story. That's it. Take it or leave it, bro.
Okay, that's fine. You can go ahead and think that. I'm okay with that. Like lots of people disagree with me on lots of things, I'm sure.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, go for it.
That's what we're here for.
Sure. It's Toady. You see for
Hey,
the symbol.
Toady, what's up, man?
Toady.
Yeah, hi. I find this absolutely fascinating, but I've got a question I may have just missed the beginning part. The compound symbols, and then the broken down symbols. Yep. So the component symbols, and then the compound symbol. Why do the Chinese have both of those? Yeah, i.e., very simple compound symbols, and then a very complicated, symbol that is made up of the other ones. Is that a special kind of symbol?
I think that the way it is constructed has to do with how I think it might be a similar fashion. Like we have letters, and we put the letters, which are our sounds and things, together to construct words. And it seems like what they do instead, or used to do this. See, this is, I think, what's called Old Chinese or Ancient Chinese. This isn't necessarily what's considered today to be like, what is it called? Like modern Chinese or New Chinese or whatever. Okay, so this is an older Chinese. And what it seems like what they did instead of like letters and sounds like we do was a symbol for an idea, and then put those symbols together to create either like more complex ideas or other ideas. But in the same fashion that we put letters together to create words. I think that's what it seems like.
Okay, so they've got a concept which might be what I call the compound symbol, just for ease of reference, and then the simpler things, which were probably the original things that were derived, like stone, wood, trees, man, woman, whatever.
Right.
And then
that's one of the things that that's one of the things that makes it so, like, to me, interesting, is that they'll take things that, without the knowledge of what Genesis says happened, which they wouldn't have had that knowledge if they hadn't read Genesis and it hadn't been passed down. Where would they have gotten the knowledge of what Genesis said? That's me speaking. Okay, I'm not making claims about what absolutely happened. I'm just saying that's what makes it interesting. Is why would they have put the concept of like covet? Why to them would covet be two trees and a woman put together? Like, where would they have gotten that concept? To me, in my mind, like, if I was going to come up with covet, I would have used maybe like gold, or like I think FE brought up, like maybe two farmers and a cow. Like, to covet, like, why would they have put two trees and a woman, or two trees and women? Like, where'd that come from?
So it is super interesting. I agree with you. I have looked, as some might know on this channel, at Egyptian hieroglyphics. Right now, I guess what I would say is that possibly, I'm not saying it's true, but possibly through chance, by putting simpler symbols together, you may get a hit rate where some of those compound symbols, as I'm calling them, or words, whatever you want to call them, collection of symbols, does relate to other basic concepts that we have within prehistory, right? So I don't know, flood, might involve some animals, a man and a boat. I mean, I'm not saying that's the example here, right? Just because floods, I don't know, relate to boats, and maybe you've got a man in the boat. So I guess there is a possibility that the complicated symbols, you just might get a hit rate. You might get 10 or 15 things that match up. I admit it doesn't seem coincidental, because it amazes me. I'm shocked. I'm genuinely, you may hear it in my voice at the moment, shocked, because it just seems to, I don't think coincidence covers it, but I'm going to do some analysis on hieroglyphs just to see if I could extrapolate a similar alignment. You see, with hieroglyphs, it's actually to do with the pronunciation of the word, and that's why they couldn't crack hieroglyphs for like thousands of years. So you put different sounds together that then makes the compound word. Now, obviously, in this Chinese, I guess it doesn't work like that, but it's something I'll have to read up in a bit more. I'll let others talk anyway. It's fascinating. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that was cool. That was interesting presentation, Bob.
You
and
see,
it does
let me
seem
just
like
say something. I'm gonna take a break for supper. What I think you're trying to do here, Bob, on the side, on the sly, if I may say, you're trying to say, look, this culture and our culture, they know the truth because, look, they wrote a similar story. So that story that we see in the Bible is true. And look, we have proof here. Two cultures wrote it down.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying here. I will bring into the light, if I haven't already done this before, I will put it right out there. I'm not trying to hide this at all, even a little bit. I think what this does is shows that Genesis is absolutely 100% not a figurative story at all. So if it's just in case anybody here was like confused about the way I see it or thinks that I'm trying to hide my motives or anything,
for
I
that. There's no
absolutely
basis.
Didn't I just say that, guys?
Basis for that.
I absolutely 100% personally think that this backs up the Genesis story
There's
as
no
literal,
basis.
not figurative. That's
No
fine.
basis.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
None.
I have nothing to show you for a basis other than it's my own personal thing. And I have no problem telling you that. I have no problem saying to everybody here, we're streaming, I'm assuming, Toy Brennan, that we're going out into YouTube. Anybody that's watching, listening, in the chat, anything. I am not trying to hide it at all, even one tiny little bit, that I think that Genesis is literal, and I think that this backs that up myself. I think that. Absolutely.
Thank you for being honest.
Okay, so I'm not trying to hide anything or be sly about anything. All I did here was I presented information I find interesting, and the way I see it is the way I see it. And I'm not saying that you absolutely have to see it that way too. You can see it how you want.
But it is very interesting, Bob.
I think so.
What time frame do you think, though, Bob? Could it be that Genesis was literal, but happened, I don't know, 500 years before it was written down in the Bible, and it got into the Chinese characters earlier? Or
I think it was at least a couple thousand years before the Bible started to be written. I don't remember exactly how many years, but I think that like Genesis took place. How long would it be? It might be like somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 years before the Bible actually started to be written, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't even know how to go about nailing that down exactly even.
you see, the flood myth, right, is there in Mesopotamian, Sumerian, the Bible, Epic of Gilgamesh, which I think is Sumerian actually. I've repeated myself, and probably other cultures as well, right? Because floods maybe are quite common. Okay, this is too coincidental with the events in Genesis to be just a generic, flood or something, right? An event that happened. Yeah. Does Travis not know? I thought Travis
it
studied
seems
this.
awfully coincidental for them to relate exactly 8 people with the large boat together. Like that does seem strange. That would seem awfully coincidental, extremely so.
Right, but you also have to then weigh the differences as well. Don't just pay attention to the similarities, weigh the differences as well. Not only that, but this is going to be my point over and over and over again, is the author's intent in using the story for his purpose.
Which author, Travis?
I didn't hear that clearly.
Sorry, which author?
Well, I'm not necessarily convinced that we can identify the author of Genesis. So I would just say whoever is, the one who is the source for this story. So if you go back,
Genesis. Okay, sorry. I thought you meant the Chinese characters for the author.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sure. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, what I was showing on that site isn't supposed to be a story that they were telling. That's supposed to be like the actual language, written version of the language.
That's what they currently use, or that's the ancient language?
No, that's an older. Like I think it might be referred to as Old Chinese, or like maybe it's traditional Chinese. But there's a newer Chinese, from what I understand, that that they learn, and it might be that they learn both. But then it's not necessarily the same Chinese as the older stuff. The way it's written, I think it might actually be more like swirly, and if you look up the differences, it won't necessarily match in the same way. Like they changed some things for the new, what's considered new Chinese. Let's see if I can find the names.
Man, where's Aaron when you need him?
Simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese.
Yeah, I texted him already.
So Chinese characters and characters that does not contain newly created characters. Okay, so apparently sometime around 1946, perhaps, is when there was this substitutions or new created characters made. And apparently traditional Chinese is anything before that the substitutions and new creations started taking place, it seems. And this the one that I'm talking about is the one that's, let's see here, it's reign of Shang Dynasty. That's 1250. The Shang Dynasty was 1250 to 1192 BC, and the oldest things that they found were like, I think it was like on the back of turtle shells and stuff like that. Seems to be somewhere between I think it was like 1600 BC and 1192 or 1162 BC or something like that.
That could be well after the Bible was written.
Well, from what I've looked at, the Bible is considered to have been started being written around 1200 BC. So it's possible that these writings had these particular symbols and writings had started to be used right around 300 or 400 years before the Bible had even started to be written.
Okay, but I thought parts of the Bible predated that. Maybe I'm wrong. I probably need to go and read up on it. But I remember the events that happened in Egypt, right? With
This
the
is considered
Exodus.
the oldest written language in the history of the world. So.
Oldest written language in the history of the world, really?
Yeah.
Still in common use, or the oldest? Because I thought there's a version of something they put on clay tablets in Samaria where they do those sort of triangles that they put together. Is the oldest written language, I thought.
Well, let's look it up.
Let's see here. World's oldest writing.
There's also a very old language in Crete, the island of Crete. Check that out as well. I think it predates that.
Sumerian.
Yeah, I thought it was Samaria. Yeah, I thought so.
3100 BCE, according to this. All right, Bob. Well, that was really good, man. Good stuff. You got people excited. Lots of people passionate about that subject.
Can I add my 2 cents here?
Yeah, go for it, Gemma.
Sure.
Okay, languages certainly have evolved and have to be open to evolve. Hebrew is a good example. A lot of modern things didn't exist when, Hebrew was developed as a language and stuff. We have terms like for cassette, cassetot, for the theater, theatron. Their university is a universitia. These weren't words back then. So languages had to adopt new words and new meanings for things and create new symbols or characters. Now, as far as the oldest languages go, the oldest we know is the cuneiform, which is just a line with a bent arrow or a tick at the end. That's the cuneiform. A lot of languages developed, they were more pictograms than actual language of phonetic and how we do utterances. Like the Chinese, they draw a house to represent a house. They draw straight bars with another bar across. If you draw 3 vertical bars, that's the number 3. A 4th bar across the top, that's the number 4. But some symbols for house and other stuff can look like, it's pictograms. It's not truly a language of phonetic Chinese.
Okay.
Hebrew, their letters are developed, the consonants, from airflow, where it passes up the guttural passage, across the palate, the R's, the resh. It comes straight up the windpipe, straight across the palate, the roof of the mouth, and for the R, the end of the tongue rolls. So the symbol is a straight line up, a dash across, with a little tick at the end for the resh. The dalet is a straight line up and a dash with no tick because it follows the same passages. The aleph comes up partly through the nasal cavity and the mouth, so it looks like a backward A and stuff. But it is to represent where the airflow is for the utterances. It actually symbolizes or matches the, outflow of the wind when we talk and stuff. They're not pictograms. So to say which language was the first, well, if it's a partial pictograms and stuff like Egyptian and other hieroglyphics there, that's not a language.
Okay.
Those are symbolic images, but not language.
Interesting take. All right, let me move on to something about space, supposedly. There is in the news, NASA confident OSIRIS-REx collected asteroid samples. You guys heard about this?
They're gonna deposit them at the, they're gonna come back to Earth with their little spaceship and dump them somewhere in the desert near a NASA study center. They'll pick them up and analyze them. They gotta
Yeah.
come back to Earth, eh?
So supposedly they landed this, had a brief touchdown on the asteroid, which is this thing right here called Bennu. This rock right here in the studio. And it is supposedly 420,000 kilometers away, I think. If that's what this means. Earth moid. What's moid mean? Minimum orbit intersection distance. So they landed this little robot on this asteroid, this rock flying through nothingness, 400,000 miles away, at least. And they're going to bring back a sample of dirt to do what? Listen to this. It was every bit as beautiful as I thought it would be. The OSIRIS-REx mission outperformed in every way. Anybody believe this crap?
I looked through, I think, the video that they had where it's like, we're doing this thing, and they showed people by computers and people talking, and I think there was even some graphics in the background of what's supposedly happening and stuff like that. But I don't think they ever once showed any sort of like camera feed or anything like that. I'm guessing that this thing doesn't have a camera on it. Okay. So if you think about what they're claiming that they launched something into space with no camera on it. So they are like literally flying blind through space, however far they had to go, got this piece of metal onto this asteroid, which I'm guessing is also moving through space, all without being able to see what they're actually doing. It's all on the computer, numbers and letters and things like that, right?
Well, they've got these photos, supposedly. This video of the leg like touching down in some dirt. Whoa, it touched an asteroid. Did you see that? Oh, you guys can't see it, can you? Look at that. The arm's going to come
When I was
down.
looking at the video, it didn't seem like they were showing anything like that. It seemed like they showed like some graphics, some computer graphics.
Well, this very well may be computer graphics. That is a good point. But it's really exciting. This little arm comes down, and it touches the ground, and then it bounces off.
Ooh.
Yeah, check this out. It's pretty cool. Ready?
Didn't they do that with Phobos about 5 years ago?
Here it comes.
Billions of miles
Here it
away,
comes.
daughter ship.
Boom! Did you see that? Wow. That's an
Why
asteroid
does it
out
look
in
like
space.
we're looking through the asteroid
There's
at stars.
Look at it.
stars and a lot of space junk out there, eh?
Oh no! What if there was some microbes on the arm, on the receiver arm here, and it infected that asteroid, and it landed on another planet by another sun, and it started some creatures that grew out of the slime like we did into monkeys.
What have we done?
You don't know. You never know. Look, they got this duct taped here. See this?
You know the what's that church? Instead of Vanu, they're on, what is they calling this? Banu?
Bennu.
It's almost like
is
they
the,
named it after Church of Scientology's God and just modified the letter a bit as a joke.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out naming. The name Bennu was selected from more than 8,000 student entries from dozens of countries who entered a Name That Asteroid contest. Egyptian mythological bird Bennu. They're always picking some creepy mythology thing, aren't they? I mean, Osiris
Gods of
X.
Egypt. Yeah, gods of Egypt.
What was Osiris? Didn't Osiris have some weird story? If I remember.
Osiris was the
Bird-headed
one that got
thing.
chopped up into lots of pieces, and he's the one with the penis. That's what all the obelisk things are about.
That's right. That's right. So this thing is Osiris Rex. I remember now there was some frantic search for a certain anatomical part of his body. Huh.
These asteroids, they're the reason, I think they're mainly the reason why Roger from the Mud Fossil University thinks flat Earth is a load of rubbish, because he's shown how the pictures that NASA are giving us of these asteroids look biological. He can show you where the biology is in these asteroids. So he's trying
Well,
to say
Roger has a
that
bit of
space
cuckoo
is full.
going, okay?
Well, let her finish.
And he actually hates flat earthers with a venom. He calls us
Yes, he
evil,
does.
jinns, demons, etc. He doesn't deserve our speaking about him. He's so cuckoo. Really, he started off okay, but really his
the
hate for flat earth
information,
and information,
I'm not talking about him, I'm talking about his information. Like,
it's bogus.
the pictures that he's getting, he's assuming are authentic, are from space, whereas he's not stopping to think, well, what if these are pictures of rocks that are actually on Earth, and they're just putting them in on a black background and saying they're from space. That's his main argument against us, is that these things are coming from space and they're full of biology.
Roger's
just
got
like,
too
well,
much invested to ever admit that he's wrong about something. He's like any other quackademic, really, when you think of it.
Who are you guys talking about? Roger who?
Roger Spur.
Where?
Mud Fossil University.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some of his videos. I haven't gotten into it too much, but I've seen some of them. Okay.
Yeah, the stuff he shows is extremely compelling, but he is still just stuck in that ball thinking paradigm. So he's trying to fit
the moon
everything
is
into.
pregnant too, according to him. He can show you that the moon is
Yeah.
pregnant.
Huh?
Wasn't he talking about some embryo or something? This is where you need to watch these things and, chew up the meat and spit out the bones. You have to have a little bit of discernment and be able to pick out the parts that mean something and have, valid, evidences behind them, and then, maybe not take on everything somebody else says, but, be able to pick and choose.
Doesn't that look like dirt and rocks loose on a beach or on the ground somewhere? There's nowhere they'd be loose gravel on some kind of frickin' Dicky Cosmos comet out in space. It's just ridiculous.
Well, it is.
No, it would fly off.
It's not ready for gardening. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it would fly off.
It does look like soil, though, doesn't it?
How would all those little pea gravel and stuff stick to this rock? It's not big enough to have a gravitational field to stick stuff to it. Come on. That's just rocks on a beach somewhere.
It might be. I don't know. All right, so that's that story. That's interesting, right? And evidently, NASA is going to announce an exciting new discovery about the moon on Monday. Anybody want to take bets on what it is?
Well, they've announced that they've called in 100
They
of the
found
top
water.
reporters.
Paige has got water.
Sorry, that's usually what they
found
say.
the man on the moon, and they're going to interview him.
Okay. Jimbo's got they found someone on the moon.
I like that one better. Yeah.
Let's see. NASA wants you to get excited about the moon, or more specifically, about a mysterious new science result the agency plans to unveil. Maybe they found a new way to grow lettuce on the moon or something. NASA.
Hey, can you go back
I'm
to that?
going to lose sleep till that news conference. I won't sleep a minute, I don't think. I'm so on pins and needles and excited and just tickled pink by this news. Oh boy.
What's that?
Can you go back to that? Can you go back to that insert where that shows you how to empty your bowels in the morning? Can you click on that?
I didn't see that, but
Just scroll down. It's right there. It's the girl with the pelvis kind of thing going.
oh,
Right there.
okay.
Yeah, and
Do you know-
enema bag.
Can you
Do you
tell
know
us
it's actually
about
really
that?
bad for you to sit on a toilet? The position that we sit on a toilet is all wrong for
The Vietnamese
emptying.
squat
your-
is actually apparently
Yes.
better, and
You gotta get
Yeah,
the
the way the
actually
squatty
in
Chinese
Canada
do it when
here,
they squat over. Yeah.
here in North America, all across the country, when the Vietnamese refugees were coming in the 70s and stuff, a lot of the centers for hosteling, you know, new arrivals and stuff, actually removed toilets right down to that little drain in the ring seal, so that the Vietnamese wouldn't stand on the edge of the bowl and squat and do their
Yeah,
business.
stand on the seat and squat over the
Right
seat.
across.
Yeah.
You got places
much
where
better-
they
supposedly
modified
much
the
better for
toilet,
you.
so it comes out better, I guess. I mean, I've shit in the woods, so yeah, it does work better. As long as you don't shit in your hat.
Yeah, but you got to imagine.
Along with the bears.
You got to imagine the quad strength that you got to have when you got a really long poo. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Well, it
your
helps
legs
to
would
push
start to
it back
burn,
to an
wouldn't they?
upright position. You know, you drop a flagpole, you just, you know, as it's coming out, you're going up. You know, time it right. You're standing up and walking away from it.
You got to have one of those. You got to have one of those streetcar bags that they put behind the horses.
Yeah, make real drive-through people. You give them a colostomy bag. That way, you know, you just change the thing.
Or
stick
that-
a new
Has
one on.
anybody
astronaut
else
bags.
heard about the supposedly dogs and cats will face like north-south or something when they poo? Like they'll actually like align themselves in a certain direction. I've never actually tested it with the dog, but that's what I heard. They have some, you know,
What?
connection to the
Cows
magnetic
graze
field.
to the north.
Yeah, weird, huh?
That is weird.
Yeah,
I'll have to
and
look at that. Into
If,
that.
if there's an earthquake coming and you have cows, you'll see them all standing in the direction of the center of the earthquake that's coming,
Oh,
and standing
wow.
with their legs apart, waiting for it, braced for it.
Getting braced, ready for it. And dogs and cats, I mean, I know my dog will know if there's a storm coming. Like he starts getting, as soon as the clouds, you know, start getting that sort of grey colour, he gets all edgy and, you know, wants to come and like lie right under my feet, and he
The
knows it's coming.
USGS has an algorithm written in, I guess, Perl language that they monitor all newspaper publications for the ads, and they're specifically looking for runaway pets. And it takes an average for towns and cities of reports of missing pets. And when there's a spike in missing pets, there's usually an earthquake that follows. Pets run away from home before
Yeah,
an
they
earthquake.
run. Yeah.
Is that,
Poor little things, they get scared.
you guys ever seen this? The space toilet?
Is
that
this
what
the
goes chugga chugga
multi-million-dollar?
look,
I don't
and
know.
then makes them some pate?
I don't know which one's this for. I don't know why they have all these. I haven't really looked at the designs or anything, but what I really want to know is what is this thing for?
What's
That's
that
probably to
orange
shoot air up
baggy
your ass.
pump
'Cause
thing for? Yeah.
get the farts out. Big air bubble takes out little air bubble.
Jesus.
Maybe you put that up your anus and suck the poo out.
Oh, we're going downhill
Yeah.
fast. All right, let me get back. All right. So anyway,
That lady needs it. She's having trouble.
yeah, she needs to go
I
see her
think
doctor.
Glover should experiment at home with a vacuum cleaner. Forget their flush toilet, break out the vacuum, and experiment.
Yeah, and then
You'll
report,
see.
tell us how it goes.
I wonder if we sold them online. If we had like a what are those called? GoFundMe, or what's the one where, or Kickstarter, and we made like astronaut toilet bags, and said you can be like the astronauts. You know, support your astronauts for the upcoming moon mission. You know, half of all proceeds will go to feed hungry astronauts or some crap like that. You know, some sob
That's
story.
brilliant. Yeah,
You think we can make
you'd
some
make
money?
a fortune. Absolutely.
Well, Today, the GoFondMe's are getting all the attention.
Huh?
Go fondle me.
GoFundMe.
Oh yeah, the GoFundMe.
Shouldn't that be come fondle me? Not go fondle me.
So NASA on Monday, guys, mark your calendars. They're gonna tell us something big. And they're still promoting Artemis program in 2024, so I don't know.
Well, be on the
Speaking of
toilet
Artemis.
for the news conference because it's so big it'll make you shit your pants.
Well, I want to know who in my house has been looking for. I mean, these are some odd ads this is serving me. This is not a reflection of me. I had the neighbor using my computer. Anyway, go ahead, Jimbo.
Yeah, that ad should have an enema bag with it and instructions on how to use it.
All right. Anyway,
This Artemis mission that they're talking about is that's going to be the first woman or something. So the spaceship that they're using and the name, the Artemis name that they've called it, it's basically going to be a woman clothed in the sun with the moon at her feet. That's what this whole Artemis thing will be. Like whatever they called the capsule was like a name for a sun or something, you know, the name of the sun or whatever, you know, something that they call the sun. So it was literally going to be a woman, yeah, clothed with the spaceship around her, so clothed in the sun on the moon, with the moon at her feet. Well, that was very interesting.
Well, they've actually announced that they're only, you know, their mystery flights and the magic to Mars with transsexuals, so there's no problem with sex and babies and all that stuff.
Is that for real?
Yeah, for real, for real.
Wait, what did you say? They what?
They announced one time that when they do send a mission to Mars, it'll only be transsexuals and stuff, not mixed.
Oh,
Or
so
just,
nobody gets pregnant.
apparently, that's the idea.
Holy shit.
They're just weird. These are Satanists, let's face it. Everything they do is satanic symbolism, satanic naming of everything that they decide to do. You know, it's a cult.
Yeah, like the Lucifer telescope.
No more than a cult.
Yep.
And they're well-financed cult. And like I say, you know, I did some accident investigation, and one of the things you have to go by is that accidents do not happen; they are caused. So when Gus Grisham and the other two astronauts died in that fire in a capsule, and they call it an accident, accidents do not happen; they are caused. It was murder. It's the only other word for it.
And an extremely horrific murder. Like you could hear them screaming, you know, we're on fire, we're on fire.
The intent was
and they just listened to them burn.
horrify the dissension and make people afraid to, you know, tell truths about what was going
Speak
on.
out.
You think it was like a message, like,
Yeah, after
okay,
he
these
hung the
guys
lemon.
were talking about they broke the rules, you know, and
he hung a lemon.
Hey,
on
we're
the
serious.
lander.
We're going to, you know, punish you if you step out of line. This is a matter of top secret national security. You speak a word, you're done. And they wanted to make a point.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
Could be.
killed
I don't know.
another investigator who had all kinds of information that they weren't going to space at all and they were faking it. He got run off the road or shoved into a train at a level crossing.
I remember that one. Yeah, his car conked out or something. Wasn't his wife and child in the car as well? And they all got collected
I think it's 2 kids,
by the train. Yeah,
if I remember right, and one of them survived.
Wow.
There was Karen Silkwood.
Oh, maybe that's why. Yeah, because one died. Yeah.
You know, the same thing when Karen Silkwood was investigating nuclear reactors and everything. They drove her off the road and killed her. That one, I guess he was a Danish engineer who said, well, it was the first to say those buildings were taken down by demolition. I forget his name, but he, you know, an engineer, a little rainy day, and he winds up plowing into a train and getting killed.
Yeah.
You know, he was the
Are you
first
talking about the
engineer to
people that
speak out
NASA
against
possibly
9/11.
killed?
Well, it's the same thing in any industry or wherever there are secrets to be kept. You know, they'll kill you to keep the secrets. Don't matter in astronauts. Look, glass making, it seems like a simple enough profession. The islands where they had glass makers when you went as an apprentice, If you wanted to leave the island, you were welcome to. They'd take you on a boat and they'd murder you before you got back to shore to protect their secrets of glassmaking.
Yeah, so you don't pass on the information.
Yeah.
What?
So
Glassmaking? When was
Latticino,
this, Jimbo?
well, the Italians, the Latticino cane places, all these famous glassmaking places, you couldn't take the trade secrets with you.
Oh, okay.
It was a lifetime commitment. You were a glassmaker. You were a glassmaker for life and for
Like
one
the
place.
Masons.
And if you
Lifetime.
left, you knew too much about the arts and could start a competition or whatever. No, you were killed. End of story. So that's how that business was run. Look, the word banco, where do you think it comes from? It comes from the Italians. They used to do business outside churches with a bench. And the bench in Italian is banco. And debtors would come up to this bench. And if you couldn't pay the merchant you owed, he could flip the bench, declare banco, and kill you if you wanted to. Or take your daughters as slaves, or your sons, or your wife. Whatever he wanted to get restitution, he was allowed to do to you. That's where banks originated, from the banco and kind of black merchants of Venice and stuff.
Well, that's
Which were
interesting.
killers.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that kind of stuff happens. What do you think about a picture like this? They tell you is from space. This is Laguna San Rafael National Park from space. I mean,
Absolutely
does it
not from
look that
space.
high up? It doesn't look
Yeah,
that high
right.
up
That's
to
what I
me.
was gonna say. How far away was it? You know.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's
Let's
the
see if
same
it
with
says.
the ISS. The ISS claims to be at 340 miles up. Take any cupola view of the Earth, go to Google Earth, and try to match it. You'll be at 3,000 miles above, according to Google Earth, not 300 miles. And you can try it with Andres Kuiper and the Boot of Italy. It's
Yeah, if
so
they let you.
evident in that one. And every photo of the ISS is taken out of misproportion and range. Like they're 3,000 miles up. It's so evident. Every one of them is a fraud. I've been saying that for years now. No one pulls up Google Earth and goddamn photos of the ISS. No, why
Jimbo,
bother?
but bring it up right now. Show us.
Okay.
Google Earth also doesn't match. If you were, they don't let you
Just
zoom
a
out
minute.
far.
Let me find
They don't let-
Andres Kuiper.
They don't let you zoom out far enough, but if you could zoom out far enough from Google Earth, like if you drew a little red circle on Earth the size of like Tycho crater, because we could see that from the moon. So if you drew a little red circle the same size on Google Earth and then was able to zoom out far enough, there's no way you'd be able to see that dot with your naked eye.
Yeah, how big's that thing? Like 30 miles, right? Something like that.
Something 50, 60 kilometers or something, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This just never looks that high to me. Like, could be taken from a plane. If you've ever flown in a plane, it doesn't look that different, does it? I don't know. Fishy stuff. Just kind of going through stuff to look at space
doesn't
things,
look
but
real to me. That looks like an image, not a photo. Like that looks like it was put together, not photographed.
tough to tell, you know. We see so many images.
I mean, like, are those supposed to be clouds or is that supposed to be snow?
I won't believe
thinking
anything.
that was that snow. Yeah. And that
I won't
light
believe
blue
anything.
stuff's really weird.
It's all water, baby.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Anyway,
I don't buy that image. I was like, they can claim it's a photograph if they want. I don't buy it.
That could be like a close-up of a rock with algae on it, you know?
yeah, we've all seen those pans where they like somebody takes a picture of the back of an old pan and it looks like the shit they show us as Mars.
Yeah, Europa. One of these is Europa. The other, like, 6 are, scratched fry pans.
Right.
What?
You always hear,
Bro, this is... I was going to say, that's all they get a kick out of. It's us believing stupidness. Makes them. How else are you going to enjoy yourself when there's money is no object?
Yeah, good point. I guess you get bored after a while, huh?
Yeah, they definitely love laughing at us, that's for sure. Oh, look at what these dickheads will believe. They even clap for us, you know?
Exactly. They'll say our names.
What do you guys think this Starlink thing is? I haven't looked into it too much, but that is some weird crap, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a bit shifty. I don't know what the hell's going on with that thing.
I think it's like LEDs. I think they're basically, you know, they're going to build this screen in the sky. Everybody's going to laugh now, but I think if you have enough like drones, right, individual drones, you could create a larger picture, right? And I think that's what they're kind of doing a test run of.
I think the sky is already like an LCD screen. I was watching a video the other day on, you know, how they make LCD monitors and what the little polymer things inside do when you put an electric charge on them. Their little axis changes. They can move from vertical to all over the place, and it gives a different consistency to the screen. And it
like LCD is liquid crystal display, right?
Yeah.
What if that's where they got the concept from? Was looking at the stars.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What?
Yeah, that they actually, you know, figured out what the firmament was, and they've gone, holy shit! If we do this to these little polymer things, they do this, and then we can, you know, put pictures on it and do all the shit that they're doing now with these LCD screens. I'll
Next
try and
time you're-
find the video and put it in general for everyone.
Next time you're in the dark, right? Just look. The dark, the black is not black. I swear, you'll call me crazy. Really look next time. Tell me you don't see RGB pixels, right? I don't see black. I see like these very tiny, it looks like screen pixels.
On where? Sorry. Right there.
No, like just if you, when it's dark, like if something's pitch black, go try or close your eyes or whatever you do to make so you see pitch black, you won't see pitch black. Like really try and focus on a small little spot. You'll be like, there's color there, and it'll look like red, green, blue. It looks like the RGB individual pixel that a phone screen uses.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I always thought it was...
The video is called Welcome to the Ionosphere by Don't Sphere the Truth.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring that up in a minute.
Very. Yeah, I'll stick it in general.
I always thought that thing with your eyes, when you close your eyes and you see all the colors and the kind of kaleidoscope thing, was they tell you it's the individual cones in your eyes. I don't know that much about eyes, but I always thought it was them like firing off or like still excited from the light or whatever. But who the hell knows, really?
That's I think the basic claim, yeah, is that there's something like you're. I think the way one of the things that was explained to me in school or whatever is that those cones can only fire like a certain amount of times before they have to refresh or something, and then yeah, something along those lines. So that seems like that's
so
that
exactly like a TV.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Now that you say it, like, yeah.
We have a refresh rate on our eyes, really?
Mm-hmm. Very good though.
Well, you know, there's a claim that I didn't actually buy. You know, I play video games, and there's talk about like refresh rates on screens, okay? And there'll be people who claim, well, you can't see past this refresh rate because our eyes only refresh at this speed. And like I haven't bought into that because it's like that's retarded. Our eyes don't refresh at a certain hertz or a certain speed. Our eyes just see. Like you open them and it just sees things. Like there isn't a refresh rate to your eyes.
Wow.
They can only see at a certain speed seems retarded.
If y'all only knew how close you were.
It's because they have to say that. They have to say that because their mechanism is an individual photon giving you information. So the gap in between the photon hitting your eye, it's not getting any information. So yes, of course they have to say this nonsense because it's based on their bullshit model which they're going to replace with something better, and all the people are going to feel so fucking.
Starts with the question, what is light? But firmament was close on how frequency affects certain mediums. It's about as close as you can get to reality. And then
Light will
remember,
always.
yeah, every
go.
Every invention is based on nature.
Yeah,
Real
and
close there.
nature. When you think about nature, and again, this is just me. What is nature? Okay, who made it? God made it, right? But if you think that before there was anything, right, there had to have been God. So there wasn't nature and then God, or there wasn't God and nature. There was just God, and then He made nature. But if the only thing that is there is God, then nature must be part God. And this is the entire thing of what they're doing, is that everything we do as part God, because He was, it's His way. We're operating through His mechanisms, and they have to replace all of that. And then again, this is where you get to the ball instead of the flat, the photon instead of the always seeing, and these kind of things.
Things can't just be what they are. That's too much like what God said.
It looks flat because it is flat, right, you idiots? And I'm like, how bad of an argument is that? Imagine you did that with anything else. This idiot thinks it's an apple because it looks like an apple. What an idiot. And you'd be like, well, what else am I supposed to think it is?
Sorry about that. Stepped away for a second. Yeah.
I'll allow it.
I saw there was an argument in Discord earlier about empirical evidence being what you observe, and one of the ballers brought up the definition of empirical evidence. And I think it was you, right, the hand that said, it was somebody that said, oh, you mean like water being flat? Like we observe flat water? Like, yep, exactly.
Yeah, then they did the classic, the balls of water on a leaf, right? Now, the problem is, like, and this is one of the things they've, got us, they show that and make like, oh, well, that's Earth. Like, well, Earth is 100% water. No, you got to put a rock in there, then that doesn't happen. So without the observation of a ball of water around a rock, it's not empirical, right?
Just if they do that, point out to them that leaf is very much flat. Thank you. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, no, you can't. I mean, so yeah, I said the same thing. So what? Earth is 100% water and it's sitting on a leaf? Like, because no, we didn't observe that. We just observed that particular behavior of water. Now you're going to have to comport that without observation, and it's faith and stuff. So lots of BS. But yeah, I couldn't believe once he defined empirical as observation, right? Like, and then you're like, because that's what I've been saying. That's the only way to know anything empirically is to see it, to take it in through the senses.
Well, to observe it, like detect it, yeah.
Yeah, to use the senses, I would say. Without the senses, you can't get information. If you're not getting any new information, then you can't say if something is true or not. Because there would be me like saying true or false, and you'd be like, about what? You'd be like, well, you don't know yet, true or false. So without that information to base your opinion on, gathered through the senses, because there's no other way to gain information except through the senses.
But their argument is that our senses aren't good enough. It's not giving us all the information we need. So we have to use our imaginations or whatever. Like they claim that our senses aren't good. They're not good enough for that. So we can't trust our senses. And apparently there's more information out there that we need that we can't obtain through our senses, which is just absurd. It's retarded.
They say that the senses are fallible, right? They're like, oh, the sense, and they love to bring up a magic trick, and they'll be like, oh, well, a magic trick, and I'll be like, okay, but the senses don't fail you, right? In a magic trick, when he makes something disappear, the senses took in all of the information. The object was not there. Systems check across the board, right? Senses did everything perfectly. Now, where does the magic trick happen? In your head, when you were like, but that thing was supposed to do this.
It comes in when there's an interpretation that takes place, right?
Exactly. On the sense and the interpretation of the senses correctly gathering the information, the infallible sense is
Exactly.
working. You know? Yeah, really, it comes down to like, God's given senses versus the knowledge, right? The quote unquote knowledge. Because they'll tell you with
So
their
would that be
words.
like, so if they're saying our senses aren't good enough, then if something's going on outside of our range of senses, then it doesn't have an effect on what we sense because we only sense what we sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what does it matter? Like, how can they prove something outside of what we can
Well,
sense?
that's what they try to do, right? That's what they're saying is
Yeah.
we can't use our senses, so we can use math and we can use all these concepts and things that we've come up with to accompany or to help bolster our senses, to go along
Yeah,
with what
to
we
fatten
actually
it
sense.
out. Yeah.
They create it's almost like they create new senses, right? It's like, oh, well, now you can use math to determine, or you can use, it's like these aren't,
Right.
they're using ways to get to reality. And like that's only the senses can do
Rather than using themselves, rather than using their own
Imagine that, a
senses and-
creator making his creation handicapped from the start, unable to detect what's around him.
Bro, and
Absurd.
Yeah, that's what it makes me think
that's
of,
what
that
it
we
comes
were
down to.
made
It's
handicapped. It doesn't make sense.
broken.
Yeah. Broken. Yeah.
Well, it's all about like, if you thought you were this unique creation, you wouldn't be smoking cigarettes, right? Because you'd be like, that's for the monkey people,
Yeah.
right? The mongoloids can
Yep.
smoke the cigarettes, like,
And you'd be treating other people better and,
Yeah,
the
so you
whole
would
do
just
unto others as you would have them do unto you would actually mean something to you.
you would be held to a higher standard because, you would know that, look, man, there's a creator and there's rules and I'm in his house and, don't overstay your welcome. Do, hang your shoes up and stuff. So it's just,
I
I don't
mean,
know,
look at
people
how
go in
we
someone
feel
else's
when
house,
we're
right?
kids. Yeah, like when we're kids and we're being told by our parents how to behave and how to act, you feel like you shouldn't need that, like they're, being overbearing or whatever, but they're doing it for your own good so that you become a responsible adult. And, maybe that's what it is for us as humans here on the earth. We have to learn, like we're just still babies in a spiritual sense, and we're trying to sort of grow up a little bit so that we can be let out on our own and not go and screw everything up because we're still too childish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get.
As I
Like
look at
this
this
is a
definition
kindergarten, a nursery.
of empirical, this definition here, this is what science is all about, in my opinion. 1, originating in or based on observation or experience. Relying on experience or observation alone, often without due regard for system and theory. Capable of being verified or disproved by observation or experiment, of or relating to empiricism.
Okay, that second one is a load of bull crap because of the word "do" in there. It says without due regard for system and theory. Who decided it's due? Who decided that the regard was due? That it was owed?
Yeah,
You
that's
don't have to regard theory because theory exists. That's bullcrap.
Is that like a negative slight on empiricism, without due regard for system and theory?
Yeah.
Is that what they're trying to get at?
Pretty sure that's exactly what they're saying. Is someone who does that, well, they're not giving the proper leeway or credence or emphasis to system and theory. Pretty sure
Well,
that's exactly what that's saying.
Isn't that what you want, right? Because here's the thing: when you're like, when it's empirical, you made the observation. Now the theory will be like, but if maybe, you're like, no, I don't give a crap. I'm not giving that any due process because I'm empirical.
It's saying due regard. It isn't due regard. It's without giving it regard. That word, that's why I said that word due, it doesn't belong in there. It is not due. It is not owed. It is not something that we should be required to give or that we are keeping from it that it rightfully deserves.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
should
that
just be
word
without
do would
regard.
imply.
It should
Exactly.
just be
Yeah,
without
good point.
regard.
Yeah, you're right. That's how I read it
It
in
does
my
not
head too.
deserve
Was
regard.
that was a good thing, not giving regard for the system in theory.
Well, they own the language. They're going to keep a little bit of code in there, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. And they can
So
change it
by
as
that
they like now,
definition,
since
no
it's all
one,
digital.
no one on the ground can have empirical evidence of the Earth looking like a ball because it says.
And who do you think determines which things have due regard? Who decides what's due? Who decides which things are you're supposed to due regard? Like, it's them that gets to
They
decide
do.
that. So of course they're going to say it's due.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they don't want us turning our backs on the men in white coats, do they? We have to listen.
Well, the thing is, if everyone trusted their senses, then the devil couldn't create his world because everybody would live in God's world where you know your senses and you're like, okay, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they that's basically what we're talking about with our senses. They don't want that because your senses will tell you exactly what's happening. Your senses don't lie to you, okay? Your mind, you might misinterpret something. Your mind might misinterpret it, but your senses never lie to you. They see what they see, they hear what they hear. But they can't have that because if you're relying on your senses, then you don't have to go to them for the explanation.
Exactly, and that
Yep,
is
well
what
said.
they have got everybody convinced of, is that we can't discern reality for ourselves. We need somebody special that's been educated, that knows the secrets, that understands the language, that knows the mathematics, whatever system they put in place, in order to tell us what's real and what's not. Just like the priests used to be the only ones who could read the book, right?
Think of the
Exactly, yep.
equality that burdens humanity with if everybody can understand reality just as well as everyone else. The equality would be too much.
I'm ready to go with Andres Kuiper and the false perspective they take all the ISS photos from.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Jimbo. I'll show your screen. All right, let me get it up here for everybody.
Now, what are we being shown?
All set, Jimbo.
Sorry about that. I have to jump from one screen to the other. Okay, you see that well lit with lots of light and yellow and boot of Italy there in this photo?
Oh yeah.
Okay, now remember the perspective. You see the whole boot. You see up to Greece, the Mediterranean, all kinds of stuff in that photo now, right? So now we're going to switch over to Google Earth. I'm going to look at something.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to reshare the Google Earth map, then I might lose this one. Anyway, you can clone this and keep it up there while I show Google Earth.
We can see both of your screens actually.
Okay, good. So you can, well, okay.
That's a little small probably for the audience. Let me make it bigger.
Okay.
I don't know how much it'll help, but that's a little bigger.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, we can still hear you and we can see both
Okay.
screens still.
So I'm scrolling back, okay? I'm going to try to match the size of the boot. Okay? We're scrolling back. Whoa, right around there. This says the camera's at 10,000 kilometers up. It's probably a little more than it might need to be. But even here, 8,000 kilometers up. Now, if I scroll in to their claimed 300 miles, which is 60, 180, I forget how many kilometers, but it's a frick of a lot less than this. Let's go. That's 500.
Oh, we just lost the Google Earth screen.
Oh, okay, because
We can hear you though.
okay, because I had to come back to this screen. But let me go back to the Google Earth, and this is the view from about, well, it says 748 kilometers. If I'm not mistaken, 1,000 kilometers is 600 miles. So this is the view from below 600 and 500 miles. We don't see the rest of the Mediterranean, the whole of the boot, just a little of the boot and a little of Sicily from just over 300 miles up. So how does that compare to what's at the left, where we're seeing the whole boot, all of Sicily, all of the, well, God knows, even to Spain and everything, Gibraltar. You're seeing from a view over 3,000 miles up from that cupola with that sneering monkey.
All of Europe,
Every
essentially.
picture is like that. Yeah. Now, if you send something like 300 miles up and take a picture, you're eating boot leather over Italy. You're not going to see the rest of the Mediterranean, everything like this. It's a fake photo. He's there in a little capsule. That boot in Italy and all those pretty lights are CGI'd onto a green screen. There's actually two photos of him where he's in the exact same position. It's the same photo with a different background on the green screen in the cupola window. They're both identical, pixel for pixel, except what's in the goddamn window. They're such frauds. It's so blatantly obvious. Any photo expert out there should know and be able to see this. This is a view from 3,000 miles up, not 300 miles up. And they're all the same. If you start looking at Google Earth from 300 miles up, you ain't going to see none of the views that they're showing you from the ISS. Not one. Ever.
Do you have another picture where he's in the same position by chance?
I could probably find it. Give me a sec. I'll come back. So you guys do whatever, and I'll try to find the clone of this one. Give me a sec.
Okay. Well, I gotta admit, now I know what the hell you're talking about, Jimbo. It's pretty interesting.
First look at that window. It looks fake. I mean, it looks fake as crap. It don't even look like a real image of what you would see looking down with lights. I mean, we've all been up and, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't even look real. And when he says that there's proof it's not real, which I know it is already, you know, it's amazing. It comes so clear.
Pictures are pictures are what people use to fool other people about something. So if you're using pictures, whether it's of Bigfoot, the ball earth, or an atom, you're doing the exact same thing. Shout out Flatzoid and his picture of an atom.
Oh boy.
That was good stuff too. I called him out on it because the link takes you to a thing that says this photograph, and then a little while later it says this image or whatever. It's like, well, is it a photograph or is it an image? Because it can't be both. And then I let him know, I think we know which one it is. Obviously, it's an image.
But I gotta say, he's right. I've heard him say that multiple times, and I never knew exactly what he was talking about. And I always thought to myself, 3,000 miles? How could it possibly be from 3,000 miles? Does that mean, I thought in my head, that means the ISS is higher than they're saying. But no, like Dave said, if you look at Europe out that window in the picture, it looks obviously fake.
Yeah, what it means is they're liars. That's what it means.
I mean, bottom line, yeah.
Bro, there's a picture where you can see the ball Earth, right? And there's 10% of the landmass, right? Is on half the side of the globe. 90% of Earth is on the other half.
It's ridiculous. How do you spell that guy's name? I want to bring that picture up for the audience. Anybody know?
Yeah,
Liar, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, really. Let me get his right spelling here. K-I-E-P-E-R. Let me make sure that's right.
That was a joke, by the way.
K-I-E.
Imagine there's intelligent life out there, right? And they come here and they realize how stupid people are for believing in that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll wipe it out of all history and like 200-300 years once they have everybody convinced of whatever the news story is. And then they'll be like, they'll teach kids, they used to believe the Earth's a ball. They didn't know it was a freaking pyramid. Duh. So they'll just move on to the next thing. Probably they'll wipe
Right.
all knowledge of us out or something. Who knows?
What people haven't figured out is if you discover that somebody's been lying to you most of the time, there's a good chance they're lying to you most of the time.
Well, that's why I don't understand these people who defend everything the government says, or even the media. That's one that really boggles my mind, is the people who defend what the media is saying. I'm like, everybody I know in my personal life knows the media is totally full of shit. And the government, no one trusts the government. I don't know anybody who trusts the government. Do you know anybody that actually trusts like the government?
The government doesn't even trust the government. Each department doesn't trust each other. This is ridiculous for the public to trust them.
They don't trust each other in the next section, next group.
Right.
'Cause it's
Right. They're
people.
fighting against each other. They're human after power. They're not trustworthy.
Right. And most, there's a lot of them are the people who are really in power, the really rich and elite people, are the descendants of, the people who ruled before, the kings, queens, emperors, the victors of the past wars, whoever, from wherever. And they wrote history. The victors write the history. And so I'm going to trust the continuation of all that shit as if things have really changed, as if the stories they told us when we were little kids about, living in the land of the free and the brave, or being freer than we were under the monarchies, or whatever the hell story they told you when you were a kid is true, and we live in the time of enlightenment. Give me a break.
They figured out that enslaving your mind is so much better than enslaving your body.
Yeah, nothing better than a happy slave. Right? Because unhappy slaves, you got to take care of them, and they're dying, and it takes up a lot of time, and then it's just a pain in the ass.
Best slave is the one that doesn't even realize he is one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can't find that same picture, Jimbo. Maybe you can drop it in general. You would think it would come up first, but it doesn't even come up in the search results. Anyway, good stuff, Jimbo. You got you said there was something else you wanted to show us, or are you still getting it ready? You there still?
Yeah, I'm just trying to drop that Kuiper image into the channel chat there.
Okay, that's cool. I'll look for it. Look at this right here. Look at this crap. Is this supposed to be real?
You're not sharing right now, I don't think.
Oh, thanks.
No, I want to find the other picture where he's in the exact same pose, and they've just edited out the.
No, I was talking to Brandon. He said look at something, but he wasn't sharing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay. I think this should be okay to play. Look at this. Earth at Night 24 documentary. Is this supposed to be real?
How dare you? How dare you? That's our home. That's our big, beautiful home. How dare you?
Are you denying science?
Even that view is
double
from
dog
over
dare you.
3,000 miles up. They're going over a model.
Come on, this is CGI, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be real. Now think about it. They're showing the outside of the whatever they're on, or telling you they're on. Now, what would a high zoom camera do? Right? Think about that. They're not zoomed in at all. They're just regular shooting there.
That
Video.
view is from thousands of miles up, not 300. That's my big bone of contention. Every single one of these videos and images are, 10 times the height they should be filmed at.
That shot is from no miles up because the computer wasn't very high off the ground
Yeah,
at all when they made it.
That's right. The computer wore tennis shoes.
What's that? That's what a lightning storm looks. Let's look at this. Look at this lightning.
Satellites, thousands of miles up there.
Come on.
Come on, Jimbo. give
I
me a
love the
handshake.
lightning, how just wow, boom, 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 just as they need it. Here, let's, spice it up a bit with some lightning flashes. Like all those clouds would be triggered at the same time as it passes over.
This has got to be CGI, right? Like
What is
the
lightning,
admitted CGI,
Jimbo?
right?
What is lightning?
No, they post as real. When you could go watch the live thing, it looked just like that.
It wouldn't surprise me if they maybe hedge their bets and leave it undescribed until somebody calls them out, and then when somebody calls them out, they can say, "Oh no, this was supposed to be the CGI. Like this is CGI. Obviously, this is CGI, guys. Come on." It wouldn't surprise me if they would try to like ride the fence until someone calls them out. Like, don't declare what it is. Just put it out there. Let whoever thinks it's real think it's real, and anyone who thinks it isn't thinks it isn't.
Now this one is confirmed. Yeah, good
think
point.
it isn't.
This one is supposed to be confirmed actual footage from 15,000 photographs taken from the ISS. And look at this. Come on, man. It's like some Marvel Comics shit.
I mean, Marvel might have better graphics than this. Have you seen the Marvel movie?
No, you're probably
This is-
right.
I love the
You
snot
can tell
green
it's
that
real
they
'cause
got
it looks
going.
so fake.
Yeah, just the dancing Aurora Borealis, huh?
I love the snot green goblin haze there.
That little Globebusters guy got it. I mean, come on, man. Can't expect us to believe this. It's like some intelligence
Yes,
test,
they
right?
can.
An open source intelligence test. All right, that's enough of that. And my incredulity. Sorry, I don't believe obvious CGI is real. Apologize for that. I'll try to be more scientifically minded.
Hey, Jimbo, where are these satellites that take these images from?
You can do it with high altitude planes, balloons, any goddamn thing you want. You don't. These things aren't even photos at 300 miles up. Come on, you got great views 5 miles up with the right lenses and stuff. They've been sending drones to stereoscopically survey everywhere and get elevations and 3D, late LiDAR. It's just everywhere. It's not satellites in space. It's everything but.
Okay, thank you
It's
for clarifying.
everything. High
Jimbo.
altitude drones, you name it.
Makes sense. Look at this one, guys. Sorry, one more. I'm just amazed by this shit that people believe this is real. Look at this.
The force field. You can see the force field around Earth.
What the fuck?
I love how bright those city
That's
lights
real,
are and
bro.
street lights are. That's amazing.
It looks like lava
hun-
flows. Come on. What are these flashing lights? Is that supposed to be lightning?
Lightning.
Those are tourist spots.
Tony, you think this is real?
I've been in planes at night and seen the ground look sort of similar, minus all the lightning strikes every 5 seconds.
Have you seen this thing? This
You
bubble
saw that
envelops
weird
Earth?
yellow like shield over Earth like that?
Oh no! I wasn't above that high.
Look at it's green.
Oh, you want
I mean, honestly, Tony, come on, give me your honest answer, man. This doesn't look like CGI to you.
Oh, it could easily be CGI, yeah, but it looks real. It's too real. No, what does he say? No, it's pretty amazing looking either way.
Oh, it looks.
I mean,
so
if
fake, it
CGI,
has
good
to be
job.
real.
They must have went to school for a long time.
Yeah,
think?
no, it's
That looks like the
yeah,
Indians did
good on
that.
them.
They
Good
look
skills.
like they outsourced that to India.
There isn't a lot of
don't
detail
call it
actually.
reality.
Bad case of Dravidium.
I mean, come on, look how low budget that is. How is the sun changing on like the solar panels, but not the planet Earth?
Look at that coast. Do you think that coast looks like that at night? That's ridiculous. What is this supposed to be right here?
Do you know how bright it would be on the ground?
Right. It's a special camera filter. It captures a lot of light. Come on. Look at that. Look at Italy. Just lit up like a Christmas tree.
Doesn't even look like a boot.
Yeah, and this would have to be much higher too, I would think, Jimbo. Well, they are looking out though.
It's just high exposure lenses, bro.
All right, I think you guys got the point. It just amazes me. Anyway, well, we only got a few minutes left. Anybody got any last minute things? Any shocking proofs that we live on a ball or anything like that?
Well, if that's Tony V, all I can say is I see him everywhere trolling hardcore. So what you take from him is not much home with you. Take him for what he's worth.
Shots fired. Did you post that picture, or you say you couldn't find it, Jimbo?
Yeah, I posted the one from Italy, but I'm looking and I'll keep looking and post it later for the one where it's him in the same position, same suit, same squint, but they've replaced Italy with another, I don't know where the fucking other place is. But it's
Okay.
the same picture, just a green screen subbed out. When I find it, I'll definitely post it on the moment.
Cool. Let me do some plugs here real quick. And I have my own channel. It's the Brandon Toy channel on YouTube. There is the link to it. If you haven't subscribed, take a break, go over there, subscribe, come back. Appreciate it. And there's various ways to support the channel. You can find them in the description or super chat, whatever you prefer. It's always appreciated. The best way you can support the channel is by bringing some content in like Jimbo and Bob did tonight, or just come in and have a discussion with us in Discord. That's awesome. Or just come and watch the show. So it's all good. Lots of ways to support the channel for sure. Okay. Well, they got anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to go into final thoughts. No? Okay, cool. Well, let's do it then. I'll start off at the top. F. Evangelist, you there? Final thoughts?
Yeah, mate, I'm here. Final thought from me, keep an open mind, everybody. Close your mind off, you're never going to learn anything. Thanks for having us, Brandon.
Cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. I Rockwell.
I got here late. I'm gonna have to rewatch the show. It's always a good show. Y'all have a good night.
Cool. Thanks, man. Jimbo.
As far as the ISS and their fraud photos from the cupola, the proof is in the pudding. And there's so much of it. It's thick pudding.
All right. Thanks, Jimbo. Paige. You there, Paige? We'll come back. Rakia. No? Rob.
I'm here.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just I'd like to thank Jimbo. Now I have to go get some pudding. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, hopefully it tastes better than that
Sorry,
ISS
I'm here
pudding.
now.
Oh, go ahead, Paige.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Great show. I think the video I posted, Welcome to the Ionosphere by Don't Sphere the Truth. They start talking about the LCD stuff at around 45-minute mark. So I'd encourage everyone to go and have a look at it. It was very, very interesting.
Oh, yeah, that link is in the Discord, but I'm
General.
posting it in
Yep.
the YouTube chat too. So I put it out there.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Brandon.
Yep.
And everyone have a good day.
Cool. Thanks, Paige. Rob?
Hola.
Hola. Any final
Can
thoughts?
you hear me?
Yep.
No.
All right. I like it.
Thanks. Great show, Brandon. Great stuff.
Thanks, man. Bob Dole.
Thinking's for suckers, right, Rob? No. Yeah.
I'm not gonna
there's a number of topics that we went over today. I think it's probably a good phrase to keep in mind. Do your own research. Like we can say a lot of things, a lot about what we think is going on, and a lot about what we don't believe. But do your own, look into it. If you find something interesting and you're not sure about it, go ahead and look at it yourself. You're not too stupid. You're not retarded. Your senses aren't going to lie to you the whole time. That's not how it works. If you're human and you're able to comprehend the show, pretty sure you can go look at things yourself. And as for me, when I get on here, and not just hold on, bud. Not just when I get on here, but in everyday life, when I state something as it is, you can just assume I'm telling you what I think about the matter. I'm not necessarily telling you you have to think about it that way, and I'm not telling you that I have a good way to prove it to you. What I'm saying is the way I see it. When I put those symbols up there and I talk about the Chinese language and what I think it does, that's exactly what I'm doing. That's what I think about it. And I might state it as this means this, or this seems to imply that. What I'm saying is this is how I take this thing. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Bob. Tony V. You there, Tony? I see your mic lit up, but I don't hear anything. We'll come back. Right the hand.
Hey, yeah, I'm good.
Oh, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no.
Tony.
Loves you. That's what. No, right to the hand can go. I'm okay. I just got here anyway, so I missed everything.
All right, cool, man.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything. I've said it all.
Yep. Okay, cool, man. All right, well, thanks, guys. Appreciate the panel being here. It was a good show. We talked about a lot of stuff. Pretty eclectic mix of topics. And it's a really good presentation, so I really do appreciate that. Jimbo, I apologize for doubting your ISS 3000 mile. I didn't get it, and I'm glad I asked you to show it and that you showed it, so I appreciate that. I'm going to go on mute, say goodbye to everybody, and I'll be back. Okay, well, that was good stuff. It was an interesting show. We were all over the place. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, 5:05 Eastern Standard Time. And hope to see you there. I have no idea what we'll be talking about. But it's different every night, so we'll figure it out as we go along. I appreciate the you supporting the channel, even just by listening. So have a good night, everyone. Talk to you tomorrow.